Chapter 55:10. Lin Taxing's figure appeared behind Lin Yi. His jade-like face was showing a smile at the moment. His gaze fell on the girl in front of him, but there was a trace of affection. Lin Yi turned around and looked at Lin Taxing, who seemed to have seen through everything. The dissatisfaction on her face became stronger. "Big brother, how can you look down on me like this?" "I'm not looking down on you. It's just that you are not scheming. How I may be a spy of the family. No one knows if our Lin family has a spy, so it's better to be careful. You don't want this news to be known by the Jun family in advance, so that they can make a more comprehensive plan to deal with us, right?" "That's true," but Lin Yi muttered. The more she spoke, the lower her voice became. In the end, there was no sound at all. Looking at her weak appearance, the smile in Bailey Hongzhuang's clear phoenix eyes became more and more intense. This girl is really everyone's joy. I can't win against you. Anyway, it's not right for you to not tell me." Lin Yi's face was flushed. She was so depressed that she simply talked nonsense. With her hands on her hips, she said, "If you don't let me vent my anger today, I won't be appeased." "Well, how about letting Ling Xiao take you around here later?" Di Beichun gave Ao Ling Xiao a look. Ao Ling Xiao immediately understood and quickly said, "You haven't been to our Ao family, right? There are many beautiful places nearby. Why don't I take you around?" Lin Yi glanced at Ao Ling Xiao, then looked at the smiling Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She muttered, "Then I will reluctantly go around, but if I'm not satisfied, I still can't do it." "You can rest assured that you will be satisfied." Ao Ling Xiao smiled for a while. His eyes were full of joy. "Humph." Lin Yi snorted coldly. "Fortunately, everyone is fine this time. Otherwise, I won't let it go. But next time, you can't do this again. I promise I will definitely keep my mouth shut in the future." Lin Yi snorted coldly. "Don't worry, it won't happen again." It was not until Ao Ling Xiao left with Lin Yi that everyone in the room breathed a sigh of relief. They were very clear about this eldest young Mrs. Pestering. Once they were entangled, it would be troublesome. This girl's temper has always been like this. Speaking of which, it's because we've spoiled her. Please forgive her. Lin Taxing shook his head helplessly. His sister had always been so lively. As her elder brother, he felt both angry and amused to see her being difficult. Star Stomper, he is actually very cute like this. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "I think she's fine the way she is. She's carefree and happy. That's what the patriarch thinks too. That's why he's been doting on her all these years, not letting her take charge of things on her own." Lin Taxing nodded, a complicated light flashing in the depths of his eyes. "It would be great if it could stay like this, but the world is still a little cruel after all." The slightly deep voice revealed the worry in Lin Taxing's heart. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, it was not easy to be carefree. Unless her family could build a strong and sturdy barrier for her, only then would she be able to live a happy life. "Don't worry, our family will only get stronger and stronger." Chapter 55:11. Now that the Jun and Xiao families have suffered heavy losses, I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to recover in a short period of time. However, I'm more worried that the token to open the Land of Heritage is still in their hands. After this incident, won't it be difficult to get them to agree to hand over the token if we want to open the Land of Heritage again? Bailey Hongzhuang's clear eyes were filled with worry. Her expression was grave and serious. She had long known that the Land of Heritage was extremely important to the Di family. This was also the most important reason why she competed for the position of Saintess of Light. "They won't." Di Beichun's expression was indifferent. Opening the Land of Heritage is beneficial to all three families. Even if they don't like us, they won't ignore the interests of their families. Lin Taxing naturally knew about the Land of Heritage. He also frowned. It would be great if we could snatch the tokens from the two families. Unfortunately, it's too difficult. In the past, it was only possible to open the Land of Heritage by combining the blood of the two families. If we can confirm that the blood of Hongzhuang and I can open it, then perhaps we can think of other methods in the future. Di Beichun's gaze was deep. The Jun and Xiao families were both their opponents. Now, they needed their help to open the Land of Heritage. With the character of these two families, they would inevitably be manipulated when the time came. He did not like this feeling. Let's discuss this matter with Uncle first. This matter is not urgent for the time being. There will always be a way. Di Beichun held Bailey Hongzhuang's small hand. Ever since we returned to the family, you have been worrying about me and the family's affairs. I also feel very sorry for you. You don't have to worry too much about these things. Just leave them to me. With a wife like this, what more could a husband ask for? He knew very well that Hongzhuang knew how important his family was to him. He did not want his family to suffer any loss or harm. That was why she had been working so hard these days. In fact, in his heart, Hongzhuang was the most important. In his heart, the land of heritage was nothing compared to Hongzhuang's happiness. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I just want to share some of your burdens. Besides, I'm very happy to see everyone happy. Lin Taxing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was willing to sacrifice for Di Beichun. A trace of admiration and envy unconsciously appeared in his eyes. This kind of relationship was really something that others could not be envied. Beichun, Hongzhuang is such a good girl. If you let her down, it would be intolerable. Hearing this, Di Beichun's Di Beichun looked serious. Hongzhuang, do you have any sisters? Introduce her to me. Keep the goodies within the family. I see you two lovey-dovey every day, and I'm so envious. Lin Taxing's eyes were filled with excitement. So far, apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, he had never seen such a good woman. It would be great if she had a sister or something. Taxing, you will be disappointed. Di Beichun smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. My parents only gave birth to one daughter. Most importantly, she wasn't even from this place. AI, what a pity. Lin Taxing sighed, obviously disappointed. When Lin Yi came back, everyone found that she was in a good mood. She was no longer depressed and dissatisfied. Chapter 55:12. The blazing sun was like fire, and there were no clouds in the sky. After staying in the AO family for a few days, Di Beichun saw that everyone's injuries were getting better, so he didn't continue to stay in the AO family. Ling Xiao will be heading back first. Di Beichun looked at AO Ling Xiao and the elders of the AO family and said his goodbyes. Seeing that his old friends were about to leave, AO Ling Xiao was a little reluctant. Ever since they started on Penglai Island, he had been working with everyone. During this period of time, he had experienced a deep friendship. He had even gotten used to working with everyone. Now that everyone was about to leave, and he was the only one left, he couldn't help but feel sad. Ling Xiao, once the family's matters are settled, you can come and find us if you miss us. When Xiren smiled, his eyes flashing. When the time comes, we'll drink until we're drunk. AO Ling Xiao nodded. I'll definitely come and find you soon. Haha, we'll wait for you. Everyone waved their hands, then turned and left together. The golden sunlight shone on everyone's bodies, casting long shadows on their bodies. This was only a short separation. They believed that they would fight side by side in the future. At the same time, the news that the Jun family and the Xiao family planned to deal with the young master of the Di family, but were taught a lesson by the Di family and the Lin family, quickly spread among the major forces. When everyone heard this news, they were all shocked. However, when they thought about the grudges between the four great families, they understood. There had always been constant disputes between the four great clans, especially during this period of time when everyone knew about it. The Di family has been riding high recently. It's expected that the Jun family and the Xiao family would want to deal with them. However, I didn't expect them to be so weak that they were taught a lesson. This is really the case of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I heard that they wanted to kill Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang in one fell swoop. This Bailey Hongzhuang has just become the holy maiden of light. Although I know that the Xiao family hates Bailey Hongzhuang to the bone, the Holy Assembly won't just sit by and watch them make a move on the Holy Maiden of Light. That's for sure. It took the Holy Light Assembly so many years to find the Holy Maiden of the Holy Light. Someone dared to target her as soon as she took over. It would be wrong if the Holy Light Assembly didn't do anything. The news spread rapidly. The feud between the four major families had indeed been going on for a long time, but now that the Holy Light Assembly had joined, this matter had become even more interesting. Almost everyone thought that it was a good time for the D clan to rise up. Almost every time, everyone thought that the D clan would definitely lose. However, the D clan would always be able to turn the tables around. Furthermore, they were able to turn the tables so thoroughly. Even though the Jun family had the help of the Xiao family, they were still no match for the D family. On the contrary, they were being suppressed everywhere. In the future, the D family will be very powerful. With the Saint of Light as their daughter-in-law, won't it be easier for them to develop? The cultivators of the D family were now in high spirits outside the family. They could even cause a gust of wind when they walked. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the family, they were naturally warmly welcomed by the family members. Greetings, young master and young madam. Chapter 55:13. In the past, many people treated me as a goal to strive for. Now, you've completely squeezed me out. My status has plummeted. Di Xiaofeng shook his head and sighed. His disappointed expression was filled with helplessness and sadness. Big brother, come on. Quit while you're ahead. Di Beichen teased. In short, we won a great victory this time. Our family has also gained face. Right now, all the news outside is beneficial to our family. We've only been back for a few days, and there are already many forces wanting to get closer to us and be used by us. Grandfather and father have been in a good mood recently. I haven't seen them so happy in a long time. Di Xiaofeng's expression was relaxed. His originally handsome face had a sunny and warm smile, making him look even more elegant and handsome. The surrounding young women couldn't help blushing when they saw him like this. Their adoration was overflowing. That's good. Di Beichen's beautiful thin lips hooked up. His slanted eyebrows rose slightly. Then we can rest assured. Right, Hong Zhuang, a deacon from the Radiant Sacred Assembly, came looking for you. Di Xiaofeng became more serious. He came looking for you after hearing about what happened this time. He must have received orders from the Radiant Sacred Assembly's president. Oh, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly surprised. Where is he now? We've treated him as an important guest. He's currently resting in the guest room. I'll send someone to inform him now. Thank you, big brother. You're now the holy maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Since the Xiao and Jun families dared to touch you, the Radiant Sacred Assembly won't let this matter go so easily. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This situation was within her expectations. The Radiant Sacred Assembly had a supreme position in the upper realm. In addition, the Holy Maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was their belief. If someone dared to target her, it would be strange if the Radiant Sacred Assembly would let them go so easily. Thinking about it, the Jun and Xiao families must have been certain that she wouldn't have a chance to leave this time. That was why they dared to take such a big risk to do this. However, they didn't expect that in the end, there would be such a result. They deserved it. Bali Yanche's eyes were bone-chilling. If the Radiant Sacred Assembly teaches them a lesson, that would be satisfying. They'll disappear sooner or later. Ling Er also said coldly. As the successor of the Saint of Light, she was very clear that Bailey Hongzhuang's future achievements would not be simple. The Xiao family and the Jun family are courting death. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang saw the deacon sent by the Holy Light Assembly, but when she saw him, her face showed a smile of understanding. Greetings, Saintess. Shi Hongqiao bowed respectfully. When he raised his head, the solemn look on his face was replaced by a familiar smile. Shi Hongqiao sat down and said, Holy Maiden, the president was very worried when he heard that the Xiao and Jun families dared to attack you. He immediately sent me to check on your situation. You should have heard the news. I'm fine. This time, the Jun and Xiao families are the ones who suffered losses. However, they dared to attack me despite knowing my identity. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Since the other party wanted to take her life, she naturally wouldn't let them have a good time. Chapter 55:14. Noticing the flash of coldness in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Shi Hongqiao understood that the Saintess of the Holy Light was not easy to deal with. The incident this time had completely angered her. Saintess, The entire sacred assembly is furious after knowing about this. The president has already said that he will not let this matter go so easily. You can rest assured. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She was very confident in the sacred assembly's ability. If I'm not wrong, the president has probably already sent people to the Jun family or the Xiao family today. Shi Hongqiao looked serious. In fact, they had only known about this for a short period of time. In addition, they had been moving the Sacred Assembly's headquarters, so it took some time for them to travel back and forth. Do you need me to deal with this matter? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Her expression was somewhat playful. That's up to the saintess. However, the president has already made an appearance. Even if we rush over, I'm afraid it will be too late. Shi Hongqiao's eyes were filled with thoughts. He seemed to be thinking about how far the president had progressed. Noticing Shi Hongqiao's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand and said, I believe in the president. Since the president has already made an appearance, I don't need to deal with this matter. If she rushed over at this moment, the other party might think that she was bullying them. It was more appropriate to leave it to the sacred assembly to deal with. Yes, saintess. Is there anything else you want to tell me? This is the letter the president asked me to pass to you. There's nothing else. Bailey Hongzhuang took the letter from Shi Hongqiao and opened it with her slender fingers. After skimming through the contents, she understood. The president did not say much in the letter. He only asked her to rest well. There was no need to worry about this matter. The Sacred Assembly would definitely let the Jun family and the Xiao family know the price of angering them. In addition, he hoped that she could study the saintess crystal well. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang put away the letter. Tell the president that I will do my best. Yes. After Bailey Hongzhuang explained everything, Shi Hongqiao didn't stay any longer and quickly went back to report. During this time, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen also made a trip to the gathering place of the dark attribute cultivators. However, Huang Futing and the others were still training and had yet to return. I wonder how their training went this time. Bailey Hongzhuang had a hint of worry in her eyes. I hope no one else will find out. Otherwise, it will be more troublesome. They've been hiding very well all these years. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any problems. Don't worry. Di Beichun had a confident and confident smile on his face. From the moment he met Huang Futing, he trusted him very much and believed that his methods would not be bad. Beichun, now that the Jun family and the Xiao family have been attacked, although we don't know the methods of the Holy Assembly, they probably won't be able to do anything for a while. We've been in the upper realm for a while now. It just so happens that we don't have anything to do recently. Why don't we go back to the lower realm? Her ink-black phoenix eyes stared at Di Beichun, full of hope and expectation. Chapter 55:15. Now that her family had not heard from her for so long, they must be very worried. Previously, she had been delayed by many things, so she did not have the chance to leave. Now that many things had been resolved, there was no need to worry for the time being. Now that she had the opportunity to go back and see her parents, she could also feel more at ease. Moreover, ever since she became the head of the Bailey family, she was prepared to bring her parents over. The cultivation resources in the upper realm were much better than the lower realm. She believed that when her parents came over, their strength would definitely improve again. If they could settle down in the upper realm, that would be excellent. This way, it would be more convenient for her to reunite with her family. Most importantly, the upper realm was a higher level of existence. No one could guarantee that the cultivators from the upper realm would not easily enter the lower realm in the future. Once such a thing happened, it would definitely cause turmoil in the entire lower realm. She only hoped that the people she cared about would be safe and sound. Only with stronger strength would she have more confidence. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichun smiled slightly. I happen to have the same plan. When I went to see Father yesterday, I already mentioned it to him. I know that you have always been worried about father-in-law and mother-in-law. We have been away for so long, so it is indeed time for us to go back. We can't let them keep worrying about us. You have already told Father? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up, her eyes filled with surprise and joy. Di Beichun looked at the beautiful woman in front of him dotingly and said, That's right. Then what did Father say? Father is very supportive of our plan and even supports us bringing father-in-law and mother-in-law over. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened, full of surprise. That's really great. She had always kept this matter in her heart, but unfortunately, she could not leave, so it had been delayed until now. During this period of time, too many things have happened. Otherwise, I would have brought you back to have a look. Di Beichen was a little apologetic. From the first time Bailey Hongzhuang mentioned this matter to him, he had kept it in his heart and had never forgotten it. You don't have to say anymore. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang put her index finger on Di Beichen's lips, stopping him from apologizing. Di Beichen lightly pecked her tender fingers. Bailey Hongzhuang only felt a numbing sensation on her hand. She hurriedly wanted to withdraw her hand, but Di Beichen held it tightly in his hand. Wife, you're always so cute. Your husband won't be able to control himself. You want to bully a commoner girl in broad daylight. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed. If we can't do it during the day, then let's do it at night. After the Radiant Sacred Assembly took action, the news spread quickly. Have you heard? The president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly led the cultivators of the Sacred Assembly to the Jun family and Xiao family. It is said that he taught the two family heads a lesson. I heard that Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong had already been severely injured by the Di family members. Initially, they didn't want to come out, but the president of the Federation of Light appeared and forced them to come out. Moreover, he didn't hesitate to add to their injuries. Not only that, the businesses of the two family heads were also affected, and the impact was not small. Chapter 55:16. The Di family was naturally the first to know about this news. After everyone heard about the situation of the Xiao family and the Jun family, all the cultivators of the Di family began to clap their hands in joy. Who told them to try to kill our young master and young madam? They deserve to be taught a lesson like this. I really hope that we can make them disappear, but it's a pity that it's too difficult. Don't worry too much about it. Now that they've been taught a lesson, it's impossible for them to recover in a short period of time. I believe that they'll be defeated by our Di family sooner or later. Bailey Hongzhuang was on her way to the assembly hall when she heard the fervent discussions of the cultivators of the Di family. From the sincere joy on their faces, one could tell that they were excited and emotional at this moment. Perhaps influenced by the joy of the disciples, Bailey Hongzhuang's face also bloomed into a bright smile. It seems that the Jun family and the Xiao family have really suffered a great loss this time. She already knew that with the Holy Light Assembly taking action, the punishment would definitely not be firm. It would naturally be extremely difficult to destroy the Jun family. However, after teaching them a harsh lesson, they probably wouldn't dare to have any ideas about her again. Today, he was no longer the cultivator from the lower realm who could be easily manipulated by them. On the contrary, his position was now no weaker than the two families. If the other party dared to have any ideas about her again, they would probably suffer a disaster the next time. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Although we've only heard the news from outside, I'm afraid that the real situation is not far from the truth. Once we reach the assembly hall, we'll know more about it. At this moment, the Di family's assembly hall was also immersed in joy. Di Yujiue's face was filled with a joyful smile. One could tell how happy he was from the curve of his eyes. Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong have really shot themselves in the foot this time. I originally wanted to use this opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the Di family, but I never thought that I would end up losing myself instead. Just thinking about it makes me feel exceptionally happy. Di Yujue laughed heartily, his loud and clear voice penetrating into everyone's ears. They deserved it, especially the Jun family. They've been having ideas about us all these years. What's worse is that they actually did such a thing to Beichen. They deserve to be punished now. I think this result is a little light. It's better to let him die. Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with disgust as a thick sense of resentment gathered in her heart. When she recalled everything that she had endured over the years, she hated that she could not kill the culprit with her own hands. That's right. The Jun family's actions are too shameless. How on, that child is also pitiful. Xiao Wanrong shook her head and sighed. Although the Jun family wasn't very good in the past, They seem to have become particularly shameless in Junhong City. The news came back that Junhong Chung, as the leader, was seriously injured and unconscious by the president of the Holy Assembly. 2 elders were also seriously injured. Now the Jun family can be said to be in a gloomy situation. They can't be arrogant anymore. Di Lin Xian was obviously very happy about this. Thinking about the Jun family's various plots against them all these years, he felt really relieved to receive such a punishment. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen arrived, they heard everyone's conversation and were immediately happy. Chapter 55:17. Xiao Wanrong looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang with satisfaction. The reason why the Di family had such a big change was all because of these 2 little fellows. If she hadn't seen all of this with her own eyes, she would have found it hard to believe that these 2 little fellows were so smart and capable. Thinking back, although they had always been on guard, the Jun family was always thinking of ways to target them. It was really impossible to guard against them. However, ever since her grandson and granddaughter-in-law returned, these problems were solved one after another. Not to mention her, everyone felt that it was hard to believe when they connected all of this together. Now that they could even snatch the position of the Holy Maiden, she really felt that there was nothing that they couldn't solve. Following Xiao Wanrong's words, the elders in the hall nodded one after another. Their eyes fell on the 2 most dazzling young people. During this period of time, everything that they had done shocked everyone present. Indeed, these 2 little fellows are extraordinarily powerful, Di Lin Xian said with a smile. From the beginning of the competition for the quota to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret territory until now, the Jun family's plan has not succeeded. The Xiao family has also been defeated step by step. You 2 are really our family's lucky stars. This time, the plan to find the spy was all Beichen's plan. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Dai Haoan had actually done them a big favor before he died. If Dai Haoan hadn't told them everything, it wouldn't have been easy for them to defeat the other party. Young madam, you're too modest, Di Chuyuan couldn't help but say. In this matter, your contributions cannot go unnoticed. Beichun, Hongzhuang, when do you plan to return to the lower realm? Di Yujue also remembered this matter after his joy. He originally thought that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang would leave 2 days ago. However, now it seemed that they were waiting to hear the news from the Jun family before leaving. Father, one of the reasons we came here today is to bid farewell. Di Beichen cupped his hands and said, Beichun, you plan to return to the lower realms? Di Lin Xian was slightly surprised. Clearly, he had not heard of this news before. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Hongzhuang's relatives are still in the lower realm. Back then, we accidentally came to the upper realm. We didn't even have time to tell them before we left. Now that we've been here for so long, it's time to go back. I see. Di Lin Xian immediately understood and hurriedly said, Then we should make a trip back. Father, I heard that cultivators from the upper realm can't easily go to the lower realm. Can we go there directly? Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask the question in her heart. When she first came to the upper realm, she was eager to leave, but she learned that under normal circumstances, it was impossible to go to the lower realm through this teleportation formation. Di Yujue smiled faintly. If it were anyone else, it would be a very complicated process to go to the lower realm. However, it's different for you. You're the Holy Maiden of the Light now. No one will stop you. The Holy Maiden of the Light also has special privileges in this regard. Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. She had never heard of this before. If you want to go to the lower realm, you'll need the approval of the Sacred Assembly. As the Holy Maiden of the Light, would the Sacred Assembly not allow you to leave? I see. Chapter 55:18. Previously, she had been worried about this problem, so her heart had not calmed down. She did not expect that this problem, which she thought was the most difficult to solve, would be solved so easily. It made her feel that her previous worries were unnecessary. You have a long way to go back, so you have to be careful during the process. Although most of the cultivators in the lower realm are not as strong as you, there is no guarantee that there won't be other unexpected situations. Di Yujue exhorted. He had been to Tiangang's sect and knew that the journey there was quite a long way. However, with the current strength of Di Beichen and the others, The speed of their journey must be extremely fast. Father, don't worry. We will be careful. Di Beichun looked relaxed. When you go to the lower realm this time, if possible, bring my granddaughter-in-law's relatives over. In this upper realm, it will be easier for my granddaughter-in-law to reunite with her family. Otherwise, it will be more difficult to meet in two places. Xiao Wanrong looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with heartache. Although they all tried their best to treat Bailey Hongzhuang well, the closest relatives could not be replaced. Bailey Hongzhuang integrated into their family as quickly as possible, but this was not her real home after all. For so long, she had never mentioned this point. Presumably, she often missed her family in her heart. Speaking of which, they were not thoughtful enough. Wouldn't it be better if they could bring their granddaughter-in-law's family over earlier? Grandmother, thank you for your concern. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled sweetly. Since she came to the D family, her grandmother had always been very doting on her. She put herself in her shoes for everything. She could feel that this old woman really loved her. She was also very grateful for this and was also very fortunate to have such a good grandmother. Grandmother, that's what we're planning to do this time. Today, we are here to say goodbye to everyone and prepare to leave. Be careful on the road. Prepare more gifts for your father-in-law, mother-in-law, and master. Lin Yunxing exhorted and quickly ordered the maid beside her. Go to the resource room to help pack. Mother, you don't have to be so polite. Bailey Hongzhuang saw this and quickly said, that won't do. Lin Yunxing had a serious expression on her face. Speaking of which, we should go personally. However, there are a lot of family matters to attend to. Recently, the Jun family and the Xiao family have been suppressed, which is a good opportunity for us to expand. Therefore, we can't go with you. However, even if we can't do it personally, we have to do it with our hearts. It is our blessing to have such a good daughter-in-law marry into our D family. That's right. Xiao Wanrong also nodded. We can't be rude in this kind of matter. Yunxing, in my opinion, the two of us should go and make preparations. Lin Yunxing's eyes lit up. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law hit it off immediately. Mother, let's go now. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her mouth, but Di Beichun was the first to speak. Wife, this is grandmother and mother's kind intentions. Don't refuse. All right then, Bailey Hongzhuang replied. Seeing how busy the two of them were for her return, she couldn't help but feel a sense of happiness in her heart. This kind of warm feeling really made people happy from the bottom of their hearts. Don't run away first. We will be ready soon. Before going out, Xiao Wanrong didn't forget to remind them. Chapter 55:19. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw the things that her mother-in-law and grandmother had prepared for her return to her parents' home, she had already guessed that there would be a lot of things. However, when she saw it with her own eyes, she realized that she had underestimated the two's combat effectiveness. Were they trying to empty the D family's resource room? As far as the eye could see, medicinal herbs, pills, rare treasures, and almost all the treasures that one could imagine were all here. Grandmother, mother, this is too much and too precious. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but speak up. So many things were extremely precious, even in the upper realm. It's not expensive, it's not expensive. Xiao Wanrong shook her head. She held Bailey Hongzhuang in one hand and stroked the back of her hand with the other. Her expression was serious and full of affection. No matter how precious it is, it's not as precious as you. We're really grateful that the in-laws are willing to marry you to Beichun. Besides, your maternal grandfather has been taking care of Beichun all these years. We can never repay this kindness. We can only wait for them to come to the upper realm before we express our gratitude. That's right. We really can't get away now. Lin Yunxing turned to look at Di Beichun and said, Beichun, you have to explain this to us when you get back. Mother, grandmother, don't worry. I'll take care of it. Besides, my master and the others aren't people who will fuss over small matters. That's good, that's good. Lin Yunxing felt a little more at ease. They could never repay this kindness. However, she had also learned from Di Yujue that Hongzhuang's relatives were very easy to get along with. If not for this, they would not have taken care of Beichun so much back then and even betrothed Hongzhuang to him. It was only after Bailey Hongzhuang had agreed to accept all of this that Xiao Wanrong and Di Yujua left in satisfaction. Let's go. Let's go see how Xiren and the others are tidying up. Di Beichun held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft and seemingly boneless hand and hurried towards the residence of Xiren and the others. Aya, hurry up and pack up. We have to go back quickly. Before Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Yujue arrived, they had already heard Shangwan Yingying's voice commanding Xiren. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and went to the door. She looked at the two people who were busy in the room and said with a smile, "How are you guys doing? We're ready and can leave at any time." Soon. I'll be able to leave after I collect all these things." Shangwan Yingying winked at Xiren, motioning him to pack up the rest of the things before walking to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. At the same time, as a henpecked husband, Xiren could only accept his fate and pack up. "Hongzhuang, have you said goodbye?" Shangwan Yingying asked with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Yes, we've already talked about it. We've already agreed, and there's nothing to do recently. We don't have to worry about the Jun family and the Xiao family causing trouble. Although it will take some time to go back, it's still very fast with our current speed." "That's true." Shangwan Yingying's eyes were filled with joy and comfort. "Actually, we haven't been in the upper realm for long, but we've gained a lot. When we go back, everyone will be very happy to see our improvement." Chapter 55:20. Looking at Shangwan Yingying's excited look, Bailey Hongzhuang was also infected by her emotions, and the smile in her eyes continued to ripple. "We haven't gone back for so long. I'm afraid that our family is very worried about us. But thinking about going back and being able to see them, I'm really surprised." "That's not true." Shangwan Yingying raised her eyebrows. "I've never left before, but this time I've been away for so long, and I've gained so much. When I go back, they can't say that I only stay in the sect to cultivate all day and don't know how to go out to gain experience. By the way, how's Yinju's preparation?" Di Beichen looked at Xiren, who was packing in full swing, and could not help but think of Mo Yunjue, who had not appeared until now. "Oh." Shangwan Yingying seemed to have suddenly remembered something, and said, "After I told Yinju about this matter, Yinju said that he would tell you in detail when you came over, but I don't know what to say." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun looked at each other, and they were a little puzzled. At this time, what did Mo Yunjue want to say to them? "Di Beichun, let's go find Yinju," Bailey Hongzhuang suggested. "Okay." The two immediately walked towards Mo Yunjue's residence, and Xiren and Shangwan Yingying followed after seeing this. Yinju came from the lower realm like them, and logically speaking, now that he had the chance to go back to the lower realm, it should be a very happy thing. Mo Yunjue looked at the four people outside the house, and his always cold face softened a little. "You're here." Bailey Hongzhuang noticed at a glance that Mo Yunjue's house was not packed, as if there were no signs of him leaving, and could not help but frown. "Yinju, we're ready to leave. Why haven't you packed?" "Hongzhuang, this time when you go back to the lower realm, I won't go with you." Mo Yunjue looked calm, and his magnetic and cold voice seemed very indifferent. However, Shangwan Yingying could not help but exclaim, "It's not easy to have the opportunity to go back to the lower realm. And you don't want to go?" Mo Yunjue was the young master of Shitian Tower. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, he would not go to Polai Island. Naturally, he would not come to the upper realm. "I have nothing to go back. Go is to Eskama. During this time, I'll go out to experience and experience. I'll come here and come here." "Yinju, have you really thought it through?" Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask again. "It's not easy for us to go back. If you don't go back this time, I'm afraid it will be even more difficult to go back in the future." Facing Bailey Hongzhuang's worry, Mo Yunjue's gaze became softer and softer. He smiled faintly and said, "I understand, but I've already decided. If it's convenient for you to go back this time, please help me send this letter back." Mo Yunjue took out a letter and handed it to Bailey Hongzhuang. After Bailey Hongzhuang took it, she nodded and said, "Well, if you've made up your mind, I won't persuade you anymore." "Yinju, are you planning to go out to experience the world by yourself?" Di Beichun frowned slightly, and his warm voice was filled with concern. Chapter 55:21. Looking at Mo Yunjua's confident and calm appearance, Di Baichen nodded slightly. From the beginning to the end, he knew that Mo Yunjua was an extremely powerful genius. Even after coming to the upper realm, his performance had never been inferior. Although the heavenly slaughter tower was in the lower realm, as the young master of an assassination organization, his means and ability were far from what ordinary cultivators could compare to. In addition, his heart was tenacious and strong, so there was no need to worry about him wandering in the upper realm. If you want to know something or need any help, you can tell my big brother. He will do his best to help. Di Baichen said in a deep voice. Thank you. Mo Yunjua smiled faintly. You don't have to worry about me. I have been alone all these years and have long been used to it. Going out to gain experience is also beneficial to my improvement. If there are no accidents, I should also go to the mercenary union. All right then. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, waved the letter in her hand, and said with a smile, Don't worry, I will definitely deliver this letter. It wasn't until they left Mo Yunjua's residence that Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but say, I really admire Yunjua. If it were an ordinary person, they definitely wouldn't give up this opportunity to go back. But looking at him alone, I still feel a little uncomfortable. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank when she heard this. If it were not for her, Mo Yunjua would not have come to the upper realm at all. However, she was afraid that she would not be able to repay this kindness in this lifetime. According to my previous understanding, although Yunju is the young master of the heavenly slaughter tower, I'm afraid that there is nothing that he cares about. So this time he does not plan to go back. You don't have to worry about this. Yunju must have his reasons for doing this. Di Baichen said slowly. That's right, you can rest assured. Ziren also said. Yunju is so opinionated, he must have thought everything through. After Ziren and when Xinya had finished packing up, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three began their journey to the lower realm. The four of them sat on Di Baichen's flying magic tool. With this flying magic tool, they could travel much faster than before. Baichen, which city are we teleporting from this time? When Ziren asked, Shangguan Yingying's eyes lit up, and she couldn't help but say, If it's possible, why don't we go back through the transmission array in Roman City? That's not bad. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly, and in her mind, she couldn't help but think of three familiar figures. We haven't seen Brother Wan Yin and the others for a long time. I don't know how they're doing now. If we can pass through Rome and City, we can also meet them. Di Baichen looked at their expectant faces and laughed involuntarily. Since you have already made up your minds, what are you still thinking about? Ha! Everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Rome and City. After more than 10 days of traveling, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at Rome and City. Looking at the familiar city wall, the four of them had joyful smiles on their faces. We're back again. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed softly. She had mixed feelings about Rome and City. She naturally felt very lucky to know Wan Yinhan and the others, but she did not have a good impression of the Holy Assembly. Chapter 55:22. Perhaps it was because she had a bad impression of the Holy Assembly back then, so even after returning to the D family, she had never planned to go to the Holy Assembly. However, it was a good thing that the president was a very nice person. Moreover, she had never heard of such strange remarks in the headquarters of the Holy Assembly. Even after she had become the saintess of the Holy Assembly, no one had ever mentioned anything about her and Baichen's attributes. Walking on the spacious and flat streets of Rome and City, the four of them attracted everyone's attention almost instantly. Look, isn't that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen from the Blazing Flames sect? That's right, it's them. After a cultivator recognized Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen, many other cultivators realized this and were instantly shocked. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen were influential figures in the Blazing Flames sect, especially after Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen's attributes had awakened. It could be said that everyone knew about them. Now that the two of them had appeared here again, it was natural that they would be recognized immediately. Lower your voice. She's the saintess of the Holy Assembly now. How dare you call her by her name? Do you have a death wish? After someone's reminder, everyone hurriedly stopped talking. The Holy Assembly had finally found the saintess of the Holy Assembly and even caused such a huge commotion. In a short period of time, the news had spread throughout the entire upper realm. Rome and city was also a relatively large city, so the speed at which the news spread was naturally extremely fast. In addition, such an important matter had attracted everyone's attention. However, when everyone saw the portrait of the saintess of the Holy Assembly, everyone was shocked. Almost everyone who had heard of Bailey Hongzhuang's name was dumbfounded, especially the Holy Assembly and the Blazing Flames sect. Back then, the vice president of the Holy Assembly had rejected Bailey Hongzhuang. Fortunately, the president was not as unreasonable as the vice president. Otherwise, the Holy Assembly branch in Rome and city would be in for a good show. As for the Blazing Flames sect, it was needless to say. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were very famous figures in the Blazing Flames sect. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had become the saintess of the Holy Assembly and Di Beichun was the young master of the Di family, their identities were simply shocking. Although the cultivators around them had lowered their voices, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were still able to hear them. Bailey Hongzhuang, Shangguan Yingying's name, Shangguan Xingying's, Shangguan Xue Xue, Shangguan Yingying's, Shangguan Xue Xue Xue, the young master of the Holy Assembly. Saintess of the Holy, Saintess of the Holy, Holy Saintess. Saintess of the Holy, Holy, Holy Saintess of the Holy Saintess of the Holy Saintess. Xuen the day, Xue Xue Xue. Quick, Xue 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 brother, and Xue was Xue family. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun arrived at the Blazing Flames sect, Wanyan Han, Wanyan Ling, and Yi Haomiao were already waiting for them. Looking at the three familiar figures, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun's faces were filled with joy. Senior brother Wanyan, Haomiao, we meet again. Di Beichun quickly walked forward and gave them a hug. Haha, I didn't expect it to really be you guys. Wanyan Han laughed loudly. When I heard this news from others, I thought it was fake. How could busy people like you have the time to come here? I didn't expect it to be true. I'm so happy. Chapter 55:23. I'm so happy to see you again. Yi Haomiao's face was filled with joy and excitement. Nothing could compare to the joy of reuniting with old friends. Haha, we're also very happy to see you again. Let's go. Let's not stand here. Let's go to the restaurant we used to frequent, Wanyan Han suggested. Everyone hit it off and immediately walked toward the restaurant. Why did you come to Rome and city this time? Wanyan Ling could not help but ask. With Di Beichun and the others' current status, they should not have returned here. Di Beichun did not intend to hide it. To be honest, we were planning to return to the lower world this time. However, we remembered that Hongzhuang came to Rome and city through the teleportation formation and wanted to see you, so we came back here. I see. Wanyan Ling understood, and his eyes were filled with surprise. You're going back to the lower world. Hongzhuang, I told you that it would be very difficult to return to the lower world. I didn't expect you to do it so quickly. You're amazing. Wanyan Han could not help but sigh. When Bailey Hongzhuang first came here, she wanted to leave. However, he told her clearly that it was very difficult to return to the lower world. Generally speaking, there was no hope at all. However, in just a few short years, Bailey Hongzhuang could go back. It was amazing. I was just lucky to become the Saint of Light. That's why I have the chance to go back now. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Oh right, senior brothers, do you have any plans to go back? If you want to go back to Tiger Hill, you can come back with us this time. Wanyan Han and Wanyan Ling looked at each other and shook their heads. Our families are long gone. We've always depended on each other. There's no point in going back now. We finally came to the upper world. We plan to stay here forever. That's right. Back then, we risked our lives to come here. Wanyan Ling smiled. It seems that you're doing well in the Blazing Flames sect. Di Beichun raised his lips and chuckled. I noticed that when you appeared, the cultivators of Raging Flame Gate were very respectful to you. Beichun, this is all thanks to you guys. Yi Haomiao put down his teacup, his interest piqued. When you left, everyone already knew that your identities were extraordinary. Since then, everyone's attitude towards us has become much better than before. Steward Wu has always been good to us. Later on, He even put us in important positions. Not long ago, there was news that Hong Zhuang had become the saintess of the light. This is even more incredible. I really didn't expect that you guys would still help us after leaving. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be where we are now. Wanyan sighed. How could he have imagined that the woman he had coincidentally saved back then was the saint of light? Bailey Hong Zhuang and Deep Beichun looked at each other. They didn't expect that they would have such a big impact. However, this was also a good thing. Senior brother Wanyan, if you hadn't saved me, I would have already died. Speaking of which, I should be the one thanking you. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled tenderly. Come, let me toast you with a cup of wine. Chapter 55:24. When Ziren looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang and Wanyan Han, who were thanking each other and couldn't help but laugh. In my opinion, there's no need to thank each other. This is all fate. There's no cause without effect. If senior brother Wanyan hadn't saved Hong Zhuang, all these things wouldn't have happened. So this is all fate. Hearing Ziren's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Wanyan Han looked at each other and smiled. That's right, it's all fate. Then let's toast to fate. Di Beichun raised his cup and laughed. Cheers! After not seeing each other for a long time, everyone was very happy to be reunited. With good wine, good food, and good friends, everyone drank to their heart's content. They didn't leave the restaurant until the evening. Beichun, it's getting late. Why don't you stay here for the night and leave tomorrow? Wanyan Ling pondered. Di Beichun looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang and the other two behind him and shook his head. We'll go directly to the lower world. We have to hurry anyway. Plus, there's the training ground. The environment is the same whether it's day or night. Then you have to be careful, Yi Hao Miao said with concern. Hao Miao, have you drunk too much? Wanyan Han looked at Yi Hao Miao helplessly. With Beichun's current strength, there's basically no need to worry about danger in the lower world. Yi Hao Miao suddenly understood and patted his head. Look at my brain. I'm worried for nothing after drinking too much. Senior brother, Hao Miao, if you don't want to stay in the Blazing Flame School and want to leave here, why don't you join us? Before leaving, Deep Beichun spoke again. His deep black eyes were filled with sincerity. It was rare to have such close friends in the upper world. He also hoped that they could stay together forever. Wanyan Han nodded. We'll consider it. If we plan to leave, we'll go directly to the D family to find you. Although Rome and city is not a small city, its opportunities are not as good as those of the aristocratic families. You should consider it carefully, when Ziren also advised. Wanyan Han and the other two exchanged glances. Actually, they also understood that Di Beichun and Ziren were telling the truth. Even though they were valued by the Inferno School, their development was still not as good as that of Di Beichun. Back then, Ziren's strength was not stronger than theirs, but now, when Ziren's strength had surpassed theirs, this was the difference. Furthermore, when Ziren and the others had entered the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, this was something that they could not touch at all. However, as ordinary cultivators, they also knew that the Immortal Cloud's secret realm was a top training ground. Unfortunately, only the top cultivators of the various large factions had the opportunity to enter. With their current situation, they might not be able to reach that level even if they worked hard for a lifetime. This is my keepsake. When the time comes, if you decide to find us, just bring this keepsake to the Emperor Cloud City. Wanyan Han took the keepsake from Deep Beichun and held it tightly in his hand. He nodded seriously and said, Okay. Noticing the change in Wanyan Han's expression, Deep Beichun knew that he had some plans. Then we'll leave first today. See you later. See you later. Looking at the familiar transmission array in front of them, Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others smiled at each other and walked in without hesitation. If it was any other day, they would definitely stop anyone who entered the transmission array. Chapter 55:25. When the four of them opened their eyes again, they were greeted by that familiar darkness. Looking at the terrifying skeleton army in front of them, they were no longer as nervous and apprehensive as they were before. The skeletons that had once been difficult for them to deal with now felt particularly familiar. After all, Di Beichun was the true Dark Holy Sun, and these skeletons were practically his own people. Thinking back, it was really dangerous here. Fortunately, Ling Er was there, and Hong Zhuang was fine. Shangguan Yingying sighed with lingering fear. If Ling wasn't there, they really wouldn't be interested in doing anything if something happened to Bailey Hongzhuang. Speaking of which, are Ling and Yin Che still cultivating in seclusion? Xiren couldn't help but ask. Ling is of the light attribute, and she's also a dragon. If she appears in this training ground, she'll be a beacon of light, so she doesn't plan to come out. It won't be too late for her to come out after we leave the training ground. Then what about Yin Che? Shangguan Yingying asked doubtfully. Yin Che has two attributes. He's busy cultivating, but since Ling came out, he should also come out. As soon as they appear, they'll be arguing nonstop. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. In the past, it was Xiao He and Xiao Bai who were chattering nonstop, but these two little guys were still of one mind most of the time. However, Bali Yin Che and Ling were different. These two were completely a pair of enemies, and they would fight no matter what. Actually, she felt that it was pretty good for these two to stay in the chaos ring. Actually, I think it's very lively like this. Shangguan Yingying looked excited. It's so fun. You just want to see the world burn, Xiren said. Actually, it's probably because Ling always bullied Yin Che before he transformed into a human. So he decided to turn the tables on her after he transformed into a human. That's why he ended up like this. Di Beichun spread out his hands. Back then, Linger's cultivation was the highest, and she had also transformed into a human form. It could be said that she looked down on the four beasts, which was why this situation had occurred. Yin Che is now cultivating with all his might because he wants to catch up to Ling's cultivation. Although Yin Che used to be very serious in his cultivation, I feel that he's even more hardworking now. Beichun, you're telling the truth. When Xiren agreed. Yin Che is a man, after all. He's always being suppressed by Ling. Of course he's unhappy. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the two men who thought alike, and a trace of helplessness appeared in her black eyes. Perhaps this was a man's characteristic. Even Xiao Xuanzi was now cultivating with all his might, so that he could transform into a human as soon as possible. Let's go. The scope of this training ground is not small. It'll take some time to get out. Di Beichun looked ahead. He had stayed here for so long in the past, so he was quite familiar with the terrain. After the skeleton army noticed the sudden appearance of Di Beichun's group of 4, they immediately locked onto them and waved their weapons, wanting to attack. Dark energy surged out from Di Beichun's body. Immediately after, the skeletons that were about to attack stopped and bowed respectfully to Di Beichun, as if submitting to him. A wide road quietly appeared. The originally scattered skeleton army now stood on both sides like guards. Their postures were straight and solemn as they watched Di Beichun's group leave. Chapter 55-26. Although Shangguan Yingying already knew that Di Beichun was a dark attribute cultivator and the skeleton army would definitely not attack him, the battle formation in front of her was still beyond her expectations. The skeleton army she had seen in the past was baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. This was the first time she had seen such a spectacular scene. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also lit up after seeing this scene. It seemed that Di Beichun's dark power had improved quite a bit during this period. I suddenly feel a little depressed. Why am I not a dark attribute cultivator? When Xiren looked annoyed, the scene in front of him was really too eye-catching. Other things aside, who would dare to cause trouble when he went out with a group of skeleton guards? I think so too. Shangguan Yingying pouted, her eyes full of envy. The dark attribute is still shameful in the upper realm. You guys have it easy. What's more, cultivate well. Every attribute is very powerful. Di Beichun smiled faintly. Anyway, you're already a dark attribute cultivator. What are we worried about? When Xiren looked calm, if we're all dark attribute cultivators, we can fight side by side with you. Even if you're not, you can't run away from fighting side by side. Di Beichun raised his lips and smiled faintly. Let's go. There's still a while to go from here to the teleportation formation. Let's go. The 4 of them quickened their pace. Without the obstruction of the skeleton army, everyone's speed was extremely fast. After leaving the teleportation formation to the upper realm for some distance, the four of them began to meet other cultivators. Noticing the familiar clothes on these cultivators, the four of them showed sighing smiles at the same time. Back then, they also wore the clothes of Penglai Palace and formed a team to train here. Now, this training ground was no longer a threat to them. Look, they came out from the center of the skeleton army without any injuries. A cultivator noticed Di Baichen and the other three who were strolling leisurely and could not help but exclaim. One should know that the area ahead was a forbidden area, in their opinion. They absolutely could not go there. Almost all the cultivators who went there had a slim chance of survival. So far, no cultivator had even made it out alive. However, not only did they see it today, but the other party also came and went from the middle as if it was his own backyard. There was no sense of nervousness at all. This made him wonder if he had seen wrongly. Hearing this cultivator's words, everyone quickly turned their gazes. As expected, they saw four cultivators that they had never seen before. Most importantly, the attire of these four cultivators did not belong to any of the three major forces. This was the strangest part. Where do they come from? Isn't it said that only the cultivators from the three major powers can come to the training grounds? The other cultivator could not help but be dumbfounded. This situation was truly beyond their understanding. Look, they're about to leave. Should we follow them and take a look? Staying in this training ground, everyone's spirit was always tense, in case the skeleton army appeared at any time. However, although the four cultivators did not show anything, it was clear from their indifferent expressions that the training ground did not seem to be a threat to them. Chapter 55:27. As one of the cultivators suggested this idea, the other cultivators also chimed in one after another. In fact, they had already planned to go back, but the night was too dangerous and they had to be more vigilant. Therefore, they planned to stay here for one more night and leave after dawn. However, after seeing these four cultivators, they changed their minds. Those guys seem to be following us. Shangguan Ying noticed the movements of some cultivators behind her and could not help but frown. Logically speaking, they were just passing by. The other party should not want to attack them, right? Judging from their clothes, they are from Penglai Palace. If they're not causing trouble for us, then forget it. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. They were the inner disciples of Penglai Palace, after all. They were from the same sect. Naturally, they could not attack their fellow disciples. Shangguan Ying nodded slightly. That's true. However, I just don't understand why they want to follow us. Maybe you are too beautiful, so they want to follow you and take a good look. Xiren joked. Although he did not understand why these cultivators were following them, it did not affect his good mood. Once again, they returned to the lower realm. Even though there was still a long distance to the outside world, with their speed, it would not be long before they could reunite with their loved ones. When he thought of his old man, he felt very expectant. Back then, his old man wanted to drive him out all day long so that he could broaden his horizons. Now, he had really broadened his horizons. However, after not seeing him for so long, his old man must be very worried about him. Hearing Xiren's words, Shangguan Ying nodded seriously. That's right. I believe what you said is the truth. Xiaohei could not help but cover her eyes. This really stung her eyes. Xiaohei, what do you mean by this? Shangguan Ying's face suddenly darkened. This little fur ball did not give her any face. Nothing. My eyes just hurt a little. Do you want me to ravage your little head again? No. Xiaohei quickly waved her hand. Sister Ying, you are gentle, beautiful, and generous. How could you do such a cruel thing to me? Shangguan Ying raised her eyebrows. Then I'll reluctantly let you go. However, while they were joking and walking, Di Baichen's expression suddenly became serious. The skeleton army is about to appear. Pay attention to your feet. Hearing that, Shangguan Ying and the others stopped joking. They needed to be careful with the sudden appearance of the whole. There was no need to worry about Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen, but if the two of them were to fall, even with their current strength, they would not end up well. As expected, after Di Baichen's reminder, the ground suddenly became soft. Holes appeared one after another, and the skeleton army quickly emerged from the ground like bamboo shoots after the rain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had expected this. Although they dodged the attack immediately, The cultivators who had been following them were not so lucky. Chapter 55:28. Noticing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, who had been calmly preparing to leave, could not help but pause in their footsteps. They stared at the cultivators behind them who had been caught off guard and could lose their lives at any time. The four of them then sighed quietly before flying away. After all, they were all members of the Penglai Palace. They could not leave them to die. One of the cultivators watched as he was about to fall into the pit and never get out again. A thick sense of despair appeared on his face. After being in the training ground for so long, he had long understood that once he falls into the pit, he would not even have a corpse left. Even though cultivators would fall in this environment every time, he had always felt that his luck was pretty good and that he would not end up in such a miserable state. However, he never thought that this would happen to him in the end. Just as he closed his eyes and was about to accept his fate, a powerful force suddenly grabbed his hand. He then felt his body fly through the air and leaped out of the pit. This force was even more shocking than the force in the pit. He could not resist it at all. When he opened his eyes again, he realized that he was already standing on flat ground and had left the area where the skeleton army had been. It was not only him. The other cultivators were also standing on the spot in a daze. This sudden situation had completely exceeded their expectations. They had been so close to death, yet they had suddenly come back to life. This made them feel as if they had fallen into a dream. They simply could not believe that this was all real. Their gazes shifted slightly, and they, who were still in a state of shock, suddenly realized that the four people whom they had been following were rescuing people in the area where the skeleton army had appeared. They saw that the four figures were like a whirlwind as they shuttled through the skeleton army without any pressure. They then rescued the cultivators who had been surrounded by the skeleton army one by one. It was only at this moment that they realized that the great force they had felt earlier was the power of these cultivators. Heavens, they are so powerful. With this level of cultivation, they have no fear of the skeleton army at all. It's no wonder that they could walk out from the center of the pit. What terrifying power! Even the palace master's powers may not be a match for them, right? A cultivator looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three with admiration. He couldn't help but compare them with the hall master. Hearing this cultivator's guess, the others looked at each other. I've never seen the hall master's strength before, so I don't know either. Anyway, I know that he's definitely stronger than teacher. That's right. We were tailing them earlier, and they were actually willing to save us. Everyone felt a wave of shame in their hearts. Previously, they had only chosen to follow him because they were too curious and wanted to know his identity. However, they also understood that the other party must have known of their existence. The only thing they didn't expect was that the other party would be so magnanimous and willing to save them despite knowing that they were following them. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had rescued everyone who was surrounded by the skeleton army. Thank you, benefactor, for saving us. The frightened crowd hurriedly cupped their hands to express their gratitude. Be careful, Bailey Hongzhuang said calmly. Yes. Shangguan Yingying looked at the group of cultivators in front of her and asked with a frown, Speaking of which, why are you following us? Chapter 55:29. After a long while, a man braced himself and stood up. He said with some embarrassment, Actually, we just saw our benefactors appear from the center of the training ground. We felt that your strength must be very strong. In addition, we originally planned to go back, so we wanted to go back with you. As soon as the cultivator finished speaking, the other cultivators nodded in agreement. That's right. That's our plan. Hearing this, Shangguan Yingying looked at everyone suspiciously but did not say anything. As for whether she believed this explanation or not, only she would know. Everyone looked nervously at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three. They did not know if the other party believed what they had said. If they did not believe it, with the strength of these four people, killing them would be no different from killing a grasshopper. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not take this matter to heart. Therefore, they did not care too much about the other party's explanation. It's not far from dawn. Be careful, we're leaving. After leaving this sentence, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun turned around and left with them. As disciples of the same sect, they had already done their utmost benevolence by doing this. At the next moment, without waiting for anyone to speak, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three had already disappeared into the skeleton army. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared. Looking at the four people who had disappeared in front of them, the remaining cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They actually rushed into the army of skeletons just like that. Am I seeing things? One of them rubbed his eyes. He only felt that his eyes must be playing tricks on him. Until now, he had never heard of anyone who dared to rush into the skeleton army so boldly. No, you're not seeing things. I saw it too. What kind of strength is this? I also wish that I could become so strong. Everyone looked envious, but their hearts were filled with curiosity. This kind of strong cultivator should not be a nameless person. The speed of Bailey Hongzhuang's group of four was very fast. In the eyes of others, it was extremely difficult to gain experience, but for them, it was like walking on flat ground. Whether it was day or night, everyone's speed was not the least bit delayed. A few days later, the four of them finally arrived at the teleportation array. Looking at the familiar teleportation array, the four of them couldn't help but smile. Once they left Penglai Island, they would be able to return home. After entering the teleportation formation, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three appeared directly in the area of Penglai Palace. Usually, there were many cultivators gathered near the teleportation array. At this moment, four strangers suddenly appeared. The cultivators of Penglai Palace could not help but be stunned. Who are these people? Why did you appear in our Penglai Palace? They aren't wearing the uniforms of our Penglai Palace. Could it be that they are from the other two forces? At the thought of this, the gazes of the cultivators turned gloomy as they looked at the four of them. The battle between the three major forces had not changed for so many years. There were people from other forces who dared to come to their territory so blatantly. If it did not teach them a lesson, wouldn't it weaken the reputation of Penglai Palace? Feeling the hostile gazes around him, Ziren couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. It's only been a few years since we left this place, and no one knows us anymore. Chapter 55:30. You're right, but how should we deal with the situation in front of us? Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows. The cultivators around them seemed to treat them as enemies. It looked like they wanted to teach them a lesson. Are you afraid of them? Di Beichen chuckled. Of course I'm not afraid, but if we hurt them, we won't be able to explain it to Long Yanwei, right? Ziren had a faint smile on his face. In this Penglai Palace, they were most familiar with Long Yanwei. Their contract beasts were all thanks to Long Yanwei. Without him, they would not have been able to have contract beasts. Long Yanwei was indeed the best contract master in Penglai Island. Even in the upper realm, their contract beasts were not weak at all. Huh, Ziren is right. Shangguan Yingying could not help but laugh out loud. With their current strength, even if these cultivators ganged up on them, it would not affect them at all. When the difference in strength between the two sides was too great, even numbers could not change all of this. Just as many cultivators were planning to teach Di Beichen and the other three a lesson, suddenly a cultivator recognized them. No, they are our inner disciples. The man looked at Di Beichen and the other three in shock. His memory quickly overlapped. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three stayed in Penglai Palace for a short time, the commotion they caused could be said to be unique. They had only joined Penglai Palace not long ago, but they were directly promoted from outer disciples to inner disciples. The most important thing was that so many disciples ganged up on them at that time. Everyone was sure that they would lose, but they did not expect them to break through and seriously injure hundreds of cultivators. It could be said that they became famous in one battle. As the cultivator's voice fell, everyone was stunned and doubts appeared on their faces. Is it true? I'm definitely not mistaken. This woman is Bailey Hongzhuang, the one who developed the drug to resist the dark power. Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang was the #1 beauty in Penglai Palace. Any man who saw her would not be able to forget that stunning face. If everyone did not believe that everything the man said was true before, then when he mentioned Bailey Hongzhuang, everyone's expression suddenly changed. Bailey Hongzhuang, in this Penglai Palace, could be said to be famous, because Bailey Hongzhuang developed this drug powder and offered it to Penglai Palace. Penglai Palace's position in Penglai Island became more stable. Although Penglai Palace once was slightly better of the three forces, 100 Flowers and Red Moon Sect always wanted to take the opportunity to surpass them. Since this incident happened, 100 Flowers and Red Moon Sect had given up this idea However, they only stayed in Penglai Palace for a short period of time before disappearing. Many disciples who came later regretted that they did not see the real faces of the two. However, no one expected Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly reappear after disappearing for such a long time. Moreover, she appeared directly at the teleportation array. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had been the training ground all this time? Chapter 55:31. Senior brother, you're not mistaken, are you? Is she really Bailey Hongzhuang? Don't worry, I'm definitely not mistaken. After the first man recognized them, several cultivators also recognized the identities of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three. That's right, it's them. I didn't expect them to actually come back. Everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. Compared to before, the aura of these four people had changed quite a bit. In the past, they didn't look like ordinary people, but now, just by standing there, they gave people an incomparably powerful feeling. Even if they didn't know their strength, a sense of fear had already arisen in their hearts. Even the palace master couldn't compare to this kind of aura. For a moment, the cultivators who were familiar with the situation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three also secretly pondered in their hearts. It had only been a short few years. What exactly happened to Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three? Why did they improve so much in such a short period of time? Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three walked down from the teleportation device and slowly walked forward under the shocked and admiring gazes of the crowd. Although we've been away for a while, this Penglai Palace is still the same as before. There's not much change. Shang Guanying looked around. Everything in front of her felt very familiar. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly. Indeed, should we go and see Master Long? He helped us a lot back then. Di Baichen thought about it and nodded. Since we're already here, let's make a trip. Back then, Long Yanwei paid a great price to recruit them to Penglai Palace. Moreover, after they came, Long Yanwei took care of them in every possible way. Now that they were here, if they didn't pay him a visit, it would be too unreasonable. I don't know if he still treats the monster egg as a treasure like he did back then. And I don't know if the palace master still has his eyes on the monster egg. Haha. As if recalling the interesting scenes from back then, Xiren's voice was light and full of interest. Every time he saw Long Yanwei's distressed look, he found it particularly interesting. If that's the case, what are we waiting for? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Let's go. The four of them walked towards Long Yanwei's residence with ease and familiarity. Along the way, they also encountered many strange gazes. Whenever some new cultivators showed hostility, there were always some cultivators who knew Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three who stopped them. At the same time, the news of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three's return also quickly spread throughout the Penglai Palace. Have you heard? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen are back. Don't lie to me. They left the Penglai Palace long ago. How could they come back? I'm not lying to you. If you don't believe me, you can go out and ask around. The news has already spread far and wide. Chapter 55:32. Long Yanwei could not help but recall the five figures from back then. Speaking of which, he had stayed in the Penglai Palace for quite some time, but the ones who had left the deepest impression on him were Di Baichen's group of five. That was the first time he had taken the initiative to recruit someone, and he had paid an unimaginable price for it. However, later on, he had realized that it had been the most worthwhile transaction. It was because of his decision back then that his position in the Penglai Palace had improved by quite a bit. He never thought that Di Baichen's identity would be so shocking. He was the son of an aristocratic family from the upper realm. At the same time, because of this identity, his position had also improved by quite a bit. If it was possible, Long Yanwei would like to have the opportunity to meet him again. However, he knew very well that it was almost impossible for them to meet again. People from the upper realm would usually not return. Even though Di Baichen's identity was honorable and he might be able to return, there was no point in him returning. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out from outside the door. "Lord Long, are you there?" Long Yanwei furrowed his brows when he heard this voice. A look of astonishment flashed across his eyes. Could it be that I've heard wrongly? Why does this voice sound so much like Bailey Hongshuang's voice? Long Yanwei opened the door with disbelief in his heart. However, when he saw the four familiar figures in front of him, a thick look of astonishment appeared in his eyes. He stared fixedly at the four of them. After confirming that his eyes were not playing tricks on him, he realized that the four of them had really returned. A thick look of surprise instantly appeared on his face. "Why have you returned?" Long Yanwei, who was still in the midst of his surprise, could not help but ask. He never thought that he would actually meet Di Baichen and the others again. Bailey Hongshuang and the others could not help but chuckle when they saw Long Yanwei's shocked look. "Why can't we return? Could it be that you don't want us to return, Lord Long?" "Of course not," Long Yanwei quickly replied. "I'm just too surprised to see you." Long Yanwei then looked behind Bailey Hongshuang and the others. When he realized that there was no sign of Mo Yunjua, he could not help but frown. Previously, the five of them had always been together. Why were there only four of them now? Noticing the doubt unconsciously revealed between Long Yanwei's brows, Bailey Hongshuang and the others had already guessed his thoughts. They immediately explained with a smile, "Yinju is still training, so he didn't come back with us this time." Hearing this, Long Yanwei finally understood. "So that's how it is. Come in and have a seat." Long Yanwei invited with a face full of smiles. "It's such a pleasant surprise to see you again." After Bailey Hongshuang and the other three entered the house, Long Yanwei closed the door. There were still many cultivators outside the house who stretched their necks, wanting to see what was going on. He was also quite helpless. "Master Long, you're still as good-tempered as ever." Ziren smiled faintly. If it were any other instructor, ordinary disciples would not dare to be so brazen. Come to think of it, only Long Yanwei would dare to be so impudent. Actually, they're very simple. Back then, didn't you guys have no scruples at all when you were with me? Long Yanwei raised his eyebrows. He remembered very clearly that Ziren, this brat, liked to take advantage of others the most. Haha, these words were so embarrassed. Chapter 55:33. Seeing that Long Yanwei had already seen through him, Ziren did not care. Instead, his smile became even more brilliant. After not seeing each other for such a long time, everything was still the same as before when they met again. This feeling also made him miss it very much. Not only Ziren, but Bailey Hongshuang and the other two also had the same feeling. The long-lost sense of familiarity made them feel particularly close. "What do you want to do this time?" Long Yanwei's face was full of smiles. He was happy from the bottom of his heart to be able to see the four familiar people again. Perhaps they met each other for various purposes in the beginning, but as they became familiar with each other, they had become true friends. What made him happy was that even though Di Baichen's identity was so noble, he could still get along with him like before. He was very clear about how rare this was. Being in the high position of Penglai Palace, he had met countless people of all shapes and sizes. Many people had forgotten their former friends after they had some ability. He had seen too many things about various forces. Fortunately, he had never misjudged Bailey Hongshuang and the others. These four people had never been people who would forget righteousness at the sight of profit, and they would not change their faces because of the change in their identity. Previously, I went to the upper realm because of an accident. I have not contacted my family for so long. This time, I finally have time, so I plan to go back and see my family, and then bring them to the upper realm together. Bailey Hongshuang's eyes were filled with bright joy. After waiting for so long, she was finally back. When she thought that she would be able to go back and see her family soon, she was overjoyed. She could not wait to return to the Lan family and Tiangang sect immediately. She remembered that she had spent such a long time to be able to reunite with her parents, but but she did not expect that they would be separated again after such a short time. She hoped that after bringing her parents to the upper realm this time, they would be able to be together often in the future. I see. Long Yanwei suddenly understood and could not help but sigh in his heart. Only Di Bei-chen's wife would have the courage to say such a thing. Otherwise, if it was an ordinary person, wanting to enter the upper realm was already more difficult than ascending to the heavens, let alone wanting to bring their loved ones up together. However, in this world, the strong were respected. Order was often used to make the weak abide by it. The strong were the ones who broke the rules. Speaking of which, although I've known about the existence of the upper realm for a long time, I still don't know what it looks like. If possible, can you tell me about the upper realm? Long Yanwei revealed a look of anticipation. Not to mention him, even the palace master did not know much about the upper realm. He was also very curious about the existence of a higher plane. Noticing Long Yanwei's expectant look, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three couldn't help but smile at each other. For many people who did not know about the upper realm, it was best not to speak about it. However, Long Yanwei already knew about it, so it did not matter if he learned a little more about it. Master Long, in the past, it was always us asking questions and you explaining. I didn't expect that there would be a time when you would ask us questions, when Xiren joked with a smile. Once upon a time, they had always wanted to understand the true situation of the upper realm from Long Yanwei. Chapter 55:34. Haha, no. Seeing Long Yanwei rolling his eyes at him, Xiren quickly waved his hand, but the teasing look on his face was still obvious. Are you going to tell me or not? Long Yanwei said in annoyance. I'll tell you. Xiren nodded. How can we not tell you what Master Long wants to know? In fact, the upper realm is not much different from Penglai Island. It's just that the area is bigger and there are more powerhouses. Of course, the most important thing is that the cultivation method of the upper realm is fundamentally different from that of the lower realm, Di Bei-chen slowly explained. Oh, Long Yanwei was surprised. The cultivation method is different? Then how do they cultivate? We cultivate pure elemental energy. After reaching the astral boundary, we will awaken our own attributes and begin to cultivate elemental energy. Di Bei-chen and the others did not hold back. Long Yanwei was their benefactor. No matter what he wanted to know, they were willing to explain it to him. Xiren even told him some of the interesting things that happened in the upper realm. All of this was tantamount to opening a new door for Long Yanwei. Many things that he had never touched or even imagined before appeared before his eyes. The once ethereal and illusory things gradually became clearer at this moment. So the upper realm is actually like this. This is really interesting. Long Yanwei could not help but sigh. This world was really amazing. If Di Bei-chen had not told him about it, he was afraid that he would not have been able to figure all this out. Master Long, with your strength, it's not a problem to enter the upper realm. Why don't you consider going to the upper realm? Xiren could not help but ask after noticing Long Yanwei's interest in the upper realm. He clearly saw the expectation and yearning on the latter's face, but he did not know why Long Yanwei would choose to stay here. It was really strange. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at Long Yanwei when they heard this. They also noticed this from his expression and could not help but feel a little puzzled. They originally thought that Long Yanwei had chosen to stay in Penglai Palace because it was more comfortable here. Not everyone wanted to go to a higher level. Sometimes, choosing to stay in a place that was suitable for oneself was not necessarily a bad thing. This was because everyone had their own pursuits, and these pursuits were often different. However, it seemed that the real situation was somewhat different from what they had imagined. Long Yanwei was silent for a moment and said, I promised the palace master that I would help him strengthen the Penglai Palace. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally understood. In the past, they already knew that Long Yanwei had an extremely good relationship with the Hall Master. Even if the Hall Master had extorted him every time, Long Yanwei had never bothered about it. Similarly, Penglai Palace's status on Penglai Island was inseparable from Long Yanwei. However, they did not expect that there was an even deeper relationship between Long Yanwei and the Palace Master. Lord Long, the days are long. If you change your mind and want to go to the upper realm in the future, You can contact us at any time. Di Beichun smiled faintly. He had always admired people who had their own perseverance. As a contractor of Long Yanwei's level, even if he went to the upper realm, he would still be an existence that attracted attention. Hearing Di Beichun's words, Long Yanwei smiled faintly and then nodded. If I go to the upper realm, I will definitely look for you. Chapter 55:35. Just as Di Beichun and the others were chatting happily, there was a sudden rush of footsteps outside the door. The five of them stopped talking and turned to look outside the house. Although they did not see anyone, they already had a guess in their hearts. Yanwei, I heard all the disciples say that Di Beichun and the others have returned as soon as I came back today. Is this true? Yizihua and Bai Songming strode into the house. Their usually calm faces were now filled with anxiety. However, as soon as the two of them entered, they saw the four familiar faces. Immediately, the anxiety on their faces disappeared and was replaced by a strong sense of surprise. I didn't expect it to be true. You're really back. Yizihua raised his voice, and his handsome face was filled with amazement. Hall Master, Instructor, long time no see. The four of them stood up with smiles on their faces. I really didn't expect that we would have the chance to meet again. Bai Songming's black eyes were filled with amazement. He had rushed over as soon as he heard the news. Di Beichun had the best relationship with Long Yanwei back in Penglai Palace. If he really came back, he would definitely come here. Along the way, he had also heard many cultivators discussing this matter. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he could not help but be stunned. Ah, we already knew that we would meet again one day, Di Beichun said with a smile. Yizihua sat down beside the group. A few days ago, Yanwei and I were still talking about you. We didn't expect you to appear so soon. You're really telepathic. Talking about what? Shangguan Yingying asked curiously. Speaking of which, it's fortunate that Hong Zhuang left the prescription behind. Otherwise, the disciples would be in trouble if you didn't return, Yizihua said with a smile. Indeed, Bai Tsaming nodded. The prescription that Hong Zhuang left behind really helped everyone. Now, everyone in Penglai Palace remembers your name. Because of the prescription, Penglai Palace's status is now one level higher than before. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to you. Until now, he couldn't help but sigh at how generous Bailey Hong Zhuang was. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely not hand over the prescription so easily. However, Bailey Hong Zhuang handed it over just like that, and they did not even need to say anything. That's all thanks to Hong Zhuang. Di Beichun smiled faintly. We are also very happy to see that the status of Penglai Palace has improved. It's not just Hong Zhuang's credit. Bai Tsaming looked at Di Beichun seriously. It's also your credit. Di Beichun was slightly stunned when he heard Bai Tsaming's words. He didn't understand what Bai Tsaming meant. When you went missing, your father ruthlessly taught those people from the Crimson Moon sect a lesson. In just one night, those guys have been completely erased from this world. Bai Tsaming sighed emotionally as he looked at Di Beichun. Even he couldn't help but sigh at such methods. Although it was your father who did it, the Crimson Moon sect's power suffered a huge blow after they disappeared, which indirectly helped us. Once he said that, everyone finally understood. That's right. That was indeed the case back then. Zyra nodded slightly. It was also because of that incident that he understood how much Di Yujua valued Di Beichun. Chapter 55:36. I see. Di Beichun's expression was calm, but he couldn't help but feel touched. Ever since he returned to the clan, he had felt his father's love. No matter when, his father would support his decision unconditionally. Even if he didn't see that scene with his own eyes, he could imagine what it would be like. By the way, when you left, Wan Yinling also went with you. Did you meet him? Yizihua couldn't help but ask. As a mentor, Wan Yinling was undoubtedly his favorite student. However, Wan Yinling was wholeheartedly looking for his brother, so he didn't ask him to stay. There was always a regret in his heart that he didn't know how all the disciples who left were doing now. In the upper realm, where there were many strong people, no one knew if they could adapt. Senior brother Ling is doing well. We even went to see him when we came back this time, Bailey Hong Zhuang replied. Originally, Hua was just asking casually and didn't have any hope at all. However, when he suddenly heard such an unexpected answer, he couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and didn't even react. On the other hand, Long Yanwei's face was full of interest. It said that this teleportation is random. You actually happen to meet each other? When we went to the upper realm, we went with senior brother Ling, Xiren said with a smile. I see. Hua suddenly understood. That's right. You left on the same day. I didn't think of this. Not only that, the most coincidental thing is that Hong Zhuang met senior brother Wanyan Han in the upper realm. They are now together, Shangguan Yingying added. Hearing this news, Bai Cangming's face was also full of surprise. That's great. They are very outstanding cultivators in our Penglai Palace. We can rest assured that they're doing well in the upper realm. Your return this time really brought us a lot of good news. Long Yanwei chuckled. This feeling was simply like seeing a family member return. It was so happy. For a moment, the room was filled with joy and harmony. Everyone exchanged greetings. The palace master, who was once high and mighty in their eyes, was now no different from a friend. By the way, why did you come back this time? After chatting for a while, Bai Cangming couldn't help but ask with concern, do you need our help? They came back this time to bring their loved ones back to the upper realm. This is a joyous occasion. I'm afraid they won't need your help, Long Yanwei said with a faint smile. Indeed, Bai Cangming nodded slightly. It's not easy to make a trip back from the upper dimension. Since it's possible, it's undoubtedly the best choice to bring our loved ones over. Speaking of which, I'm reminded of something interesting. Hua chuckled inexplicably, as if he had thought of something very funny. What interesting thing? After you left, your deeds gradually spread, and then some people came out and claimed to be your relatives. In the beginning, many people really believed it. However, as more and more people impersonated them, they realized that it was all fake. It caused quite a stir at that time. It's interesting just thinking about it. Chapter 55:37. Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 4 looked at each other in dismay. They really didn't expect such a situation to occur. When they first appeared, many people were deceived and wanted to use them to form a relationship with you. But speaking of which, those fellows' acting skills were indeed not bad. They also made up a set of stories. No wonder so many people believed them. Then what about now? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Cultivators nowadays were really flexible. In order to obtain benefits, it wasn't a big deal for them to make up lies. After someone was exposed, the situation took a turn for the better. Because no one believed them, gradually, no one used this method to deceive others, said Long Yanwei. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She didn't want to have so many relatives for no reason. Speaking of which, recently, there was someone who claimed to be your father. But what was his name again? Hua frowned as he pondered. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. He claimed to be my father? Hua nodded. That's right. Actually, there were people who claimed to be your uncle or aunt. But he was the only one who claimed to be your father. Even if it was a story, this identity was too intimate. It was because of this that I understood this person's situation. But for a moment, I've forgotten his name. Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun looked at each other as a guess emerged in their minds. Suddenly, Deep Beichun asked, is he called Lanyan Shao? Hua widened his eyes and nodded. That's right. It's Lanyan Shao. Long Yanwei and Bai Cangming, who were originally joking, couldn't help but straighten their expressions. They realized that the situation was different from what they had imagined. How do you know this name? Hua looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in a daze. He can't really be your father, right? My father is Lanyan Shao. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was serious. She was certain that this person was her father. They had not returned for so long. With his father's temperament, it was very likely that he would come to Penglai Island to look for him. After hearing this affirmative answer, Long Yanwei and the other 2 also became serious. Heavens! Uncle actually came to Penglai Island. Shangguan Yingying exclaimed. This was beyond her expectations. Hua was also a little embarrassed. Previously, there were too many people pretending to be your relatives, so we didn't take it to heart. Even though I was a little surprised when I heard that he claimed to be your father, I thought that he was just trying to win by surprise. After all, the two of you weren't here, so no one knew whether he was telling the truth or not. I didn't expect this to be true. Is my father still in Penglai Island? Bailey Hongzhuang stood up. Her white face was full of seriousness and tension. In her heart, her father had always been an existence that could hold up the sky. However, as she grew up, she understood that there were too many dangers in the outside world. Even his father had to be careful. Zihua, do you know? Long Yanwei looked at Zihua. He usually did not care much about such things, so he did not understand. Chapter 55:38. Why don't you sit here and wait for me? I'll go and find out what's going on. I'll be back very soon. Zihua's expression was serious. Since the other party was Bailey Hongzhuang's father, he naturally had to be careful. All right, then we'll have to trouble teacher, Di Baichen replied. In the next moment, Zihua quickly left. Bailey Hongzhuang remained standing at the same spot with a frown. Her peerless face was filled with unconcealable worry. Even if Zihua didn't say anything, from his expression, Bailey Hongzhuang could see a lot of things. Something important? Bailey Hongzhuang instinctively sensed that this was probably not something good. Otherwise, Zihua would not have looked so nervous. Wife, sit down first. Don't worry. Di Baichun held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and gestured for her not to be nervous. However, his heart ached when he felt the coldness of her hand. Don't worry, father will be fine. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her senses. She nodded blankly and sat there quietly. Countless thoughts still surfaced in her mind. The originally lively atmosphere suddenly quieted down. Long Yanwei and Bai Tsangming looked at each other and felt a little guilty. Bailey Hongzhuang had helped them so much. They should do their best to take care of her family. However, they did not expect that they did not even know the truth of the situation. They really should not have done that. Zihua was very fast. After understanding the situation, he quickly rushed back. I've understood it clearly. There's an arranged battle between your father and Crimson Moon Sect's teacher, Yin Haoguang, today. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately stood up when she heard this. Her delicate face was filled with seriousness and malice. When is it? It's agreed to be held at noon. It'll start soon. Where is it? Di Baichun hurriedly asked. It's on Crimson Moon Island, where the Crimson Moon Sect is located. Let's go now. Di Baichun's eyes narrowed. The Crimson Moon Sect again. Back then, there was a conflict with the Crimson Moon Sect. After the Crimson Moon Sect was taught a lesson, their strength had been greatly affected. If it was not for Di Yujua's agreement between the Upper Realm and Lower Realm, the Crimson Moon Sect would have ceased to exist. However, the Crimson Moon Sect had now dared to oppose his father. They were really digging their own graves. Bailey Hongzhuang. The teachers of the Crimson Moon Sect would not be weak. This battle would not be simple. Just as Bai Tsangming was thinking about how to hurry, Di Baichun had already taken out a flying magic tool. Seeing that Di Baichun and the other three had already entered, Bai Tsangming and the other two did not delay and hurriedly followed. Di Baichun activated the flying device immediately. There was quite a distance between the Crimson Moon Island and Penglai Island. If they hurried like before, the competition would have ended by the time they arrived. However, with this flying magic tool, their speed would undoubtedly be much faster. Feeling the flying device's speed, Bai Tsangming and the other two were shocked. They had never seen such a treasure before. Is this a flying device? Bai Tsangming looked at the flying car and could not help but ask. Chapter 55:39. After receiving an affirmative answer, Bai Tsangming sighed in his heart. As the palace master of Penglai Palace, he naturally knew more about the situation than the others. However, he had only heard of such a rare treasure and had never seen it before. He never thought that he would have the opportunity to sit on a flying instrument. Similarly, from this, it could be seen that Di Baichun's position in the Di family was not simple. Instructor E, can you tell me more about the Crimson Moon Sect's instructor? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Zihua. She did not know why her father would have a grudge with this person. However, based on her father's character, he would not easily get into a conflict with others. No problem. Izihua nodded. Yin Hao Guang is a Crimson Moon Sect's instructor, and his position in the Crimson Moon Sect is not simple. I have interacted with him before. He is a little arrogant because of his abilities and has always thought highly of himself. Therefore, he is not very popular. However, at the same time, he is indeed very powerful. That is why he is able to secure his position in the Crimson Moon Sect. From what I know, the reason why your father got into a conflict with him this time was because of a man named Yu Linfeng. Yu Linfeng, Shangguan Yingying was stunned. Isn't that Hong Zhuang's master? He is Hong Zhuang's master? Izihua was also shocked. Di Beichen nodded. That's right. He is Hong Zhuang's master. I believe that they came together this time. That makes sense. It seems that Yu Linfeng got into a conflict with Yin Hao Guang and was severely injured by Yin Hao Guang. Your father wanted to avenge Yu Linfeng, so he arranged a battle with him. My master is severely injured? Bailey Hongzhuang's face suddenly darkened, and her fan-like eyelashes cast a shadow, blocking the bloodthirsty, killing intent in her eyes. She was already extremely unhappy with the Crimson Moon Sect. How dare they plot against her? Now, a mere instructor had actually dared to injure her master. Since they dared to touch her reverse scale, she would definitely kill them. The atmosphere suddenly dropped to the freezing point. Everyone could feel the murderous intent in Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Indeed, Izihua nodded. He did not feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's behavior was inappropriate. If it were any other cultivator, knowing that someone they cared about was seriously injured, they would probably have the same reaction. My father-in-law's strength shouldn't be too different from Master's. Did he take the initiative to challenge Yin Hao Guang? Di Beichen frowned. His bright black eyes shone with wisdom. According to his understanding, his father-in-law would not do such a thing. Bai Cangming and Long Yanwei also raised their heads. If the two of them were equally matched, it proved that Lan Yunxiao wasn't Yin Hao Guang's opponent either. If he didn't have a reason, he wouldn't have done such a suicidal thing. It's said that he was forced to do so, that Yin Hao Guang clearly wants to kill them. After Yu Linfeng was severely injured, Lan Yunxiao planned to take him away. He didn't expect the Crimson Moon Sect's cultivators to stop them from leaving. They also stopped all the doctors from treating him. Unless Lan Yunxiao defeats Yin Hao Guang, he won't let them leave. Bang! The table at the side was directly shattered into powder by Bailey Hongzhuang's palm. Bailey Hongzhuang could no longer suppress the anger in her chest. Bastard! Chapter 5540. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but explode. There was actually such a shameless person who relied on his power to bully others. Whether it was Lan Yunxiao or Yu Linfeng, they were both people who could call the wind and summon the rain in the outside world. But here they were bullied like this. It was too hateful. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was bleeding. If it weren't for them being worried, her father and master wouldn't have specially come here. Naturally, they wouldn't be treated like this. That's right. Yin Hao Guang and Yu Linfeng first got into a conflict because Yin Hao Guang took a fancy to a girl. However, Yu Linfeng was handsome and was admired by that girl. Yin Hao Guang wasn't convinced and found a reason to attack. Izihua was speechless about all of this. Speaking of which, all of this wasn't related to Yu Linfeng and Lan Yunxiao. It was just that Yin Hao Guang failed in his pursuit and wanted to find someone to vent his frustrations. It was truly depressing. After hearing all of this, Xiren and the rest looked at each other. The resentment in their eyes intensified. They believed in this reason very much. This was because Yu Linfeng's appearance was extraordinarily handsome to begin with. Back when he was in the outside world, who knew how many women adored him? Now that they were on Penglai Island, such a situation couldn't be more normal. I didn't expect that a girl's outstanding appearance would attract trouble. A handsome man would also attract such an undeserved calamity. Bai Cangming couldn't help but sigh. Just based on the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest, he could guess that Lan Yunxiao and the rest were all first-rate handsome men. I always knew that Yin Hao Guang wasn't a reasonable person, but now it seems that this fellow is completely arrogant and despotic. He relied on Scarlet Moon Island as Scarlet Moon Sect's territory to do such despicable and shameless things. He's truly too hateful. Long Yanwei's expression also darkened. Usually, he looked down on this kind of person the most. Now that it involved Bailey Hongzhuang's family, he was naturally even angrier. Right now, he could only hope that nothing happened to Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao. Otherwise, this matter would truly be troublesome. Wife, I'm already rushing to Scarlet Moon Island at the fastest speed. With the distance between Penglai Island and Scarlet Moon Island, we'll arrive very quickly. Don't worry. Even though he knew that his words wouldn't have much of an effect on Bailey Hongzhuang, he couldn't help but speak up when he noticed her tense expression. Moon. He knew how important her family was to Hongzhuang. She was not afraid of danger or rumors. She could bear with it no matter how others hurt her. But the only thing that she couldn't bear was the people she cared for get hurt. Her. B. Word TT. T. Do you guys think that Lan Yunxiao will come today? He should come. If he doesn't, then Yulin Feng won't be able to obtain the antidote. Moreover, they're on Scarlet Moon Island. If Yin Haowang doesn't want them to leave, they won't have the chance to. Chapter 55-41. As soon as the man finished speaking, the other cultivators nodded their heads in agreement. Everyone knew that this was an undeserved calamity for Lan Yunxiao and Dijio. This was Yin Haowang's problem, but there were too many unlucky people like him on Penglai Island. Cultivation was related to one's own luck. Any cultivator who could become an expert usually had extremely strong luck. If they didn't have good luck, no matter how outstanding their talent was, they wouldn't be able to reach that height. No one cared about the root of this matter. The weak were destined to be bullied. Speaking of which, didn't Lan Yunxiao claim to be Bailey Hongzhuang's father? Bailey Hongzhuang has made such a great contribution to Penglai Palace. Do you think they will take action? What kind of joke is this? It's no longer the same as before. Everyone knows that Bailey Hongzhuang doesn't have any relatives here. This is all fake news. It's just that Lan Yunxiao claiming to be her father is a bit special. That's true. How outstanding is Di Beichen's father? If Lan Yunxiao really is Bailey Hongzhuang's father, how could he have fallen to such a state on Penglai Island? With just a few words, everyone was certain that this was a lie. As the appointed time approached, a figure slowly walked over like a moon surrounded by stars. The moment he appeared, the entire encirclement erupted with cries of surprise. Everyone's gaze landed on this proud and complacent figure. They saw Yin Haowang's face beaming with happiness. His slightly bloated face was glowing with oil, as if he was living a very comfortable life. Faced with everyone's sighing gazes, Yin Haowang took this as an honor and was very happy. Instructor Yin, that Lan Yunxiao still hasn't appeared. I don't know if he's scared out of his wits and doesn't dare to come. A fair-skinned young man standing closest to Yin Haowang had a flattering smile on his face as he nodded and bowed. That Lan Yunxiao, as long as Instructor Yin makes a move, he won't even have a chance to fight back. It's normal that he doesn't come, another Crimson Moon sect disciple said with a smile. Yin Haowang glanced at the lively scene in front of him, and a contemptuous smile appeared on his fat face. They're just a few country bumpkins from the outside world. They think that they could do whatever they want here because they're strong in the outside world. However, their thinking is too simple. Our Penglai Island is not comparable to those places in the outside world. That's right. This time, Instructor Yin will make them recognize reality. Yin Haowang's figure flashed and appeared on the arena. He sat down calmly on one side. A few young disciples behind him were in charge of serving him tea and water. They were very happy to serve him. Yin Xiao, don't worry about me. Since everyone is attracted by the tournament today, why don't you take the opportunity to leave Scarlet Moon Island? I'm definitely going to die. You don't have to die with me. Live well. Maybe you'll have a chance to avenge me in the future. Yu Linfeng's face was pale. His originally handsome face was now covered in a layer of purple due to the poison. His face was as pale as paper, without a trace of blood. Even his voice had become incomparably weak. However, the resentment and regret in his eyes became even more profound. They came to Penglai Island this time. On the one hand, they wanted to find Bailey Hongzhuang. On the other hand, they wanted to improve their strength. Chapter 55-42. If they did not understand the existence of a higher level, perhaps they would be able to live leisurely like before. However, after knowing that the cultivators of Penglai Island were so powerful, they could no longer ignore it. Most importantly, Dyujua's appearance allowed them to understand a brand new world. That level of strength was something they had never imagined before. It was only at that moment that they realized that they had always been frogs in a well. There were too many experts in this world, and in front of these experts, they were simply ants. Hong Zhuang had become the daughter-in-law of the Di family, which meant that she had entered a completely different environment from before. As Hong Zhuang's maternal family, they naturally wanted to improve themselves. Even if they believed that with deep Beichen sincerity towards Hong Zhuang and Dyujua's generosity and sincerity, Hong Zhuang would not suffer any grievances after marrying into the Di family. However, as her maternal family, they did not wish to be a burden to Hong Zhuang. They hoped that they could still be the most reliable backing for Hong Zhuang. However, they did not expect that their luck would be so bad that they would be targeted by Yin Haowang after coming here. They also did not expect that Yin Haowang, as a teacher of the Crimson Moon sect, would be so despicable. Hearing Yu Linfeng's words, Lan Yunxiao could not help but frown and rejected him without thinking. Linfeng, don't say such things. We are brothers, and I will never leave you alone. Moreover, Yin Haowang will never let them leave. There are always people monitoring us outside the room. As long as we have the intention to secretly leave, we will definitely be discovered by them. Lan Yunxiao's handsome face revealed seriousness and contemplation. A trace of worry could not help but appear between his brows. The situation before him indeed made him feel deeply powerless. The Crimson Moon sect was an existence that could cover the sky with one hand, and they had no chance of escaping. Yu Linfeng sighed. Yin Xiao, I've implicated you this time. If he had not caused such trouble for no reason, they would not be in such a situation. What are you talking about? Lan Yunxiao's expression turned serious. This is an undeserved calamity. It has nothing to do with you, so don't take it to heart. If we're destined to lose our lives here, then that's our fate. He had already mentally prepared himself for this before he chose to come to Penglai Island. A resolute look appeared in Lan Yunxiao's eyes. He understood that he wasn't Yin Haowang's match, but even if he had to sacrifice his life, he had to make the other party pay the price. Yu Linfeng fell silent. The situation before him made him feel deeply powerless. He didn't know how to face it. The poison in his body was getting deeper and deeper. He could clearly feel that even speaking had become extremely difficult for him. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Let's go. Lan Yunxiao helped Yu Linfeng up. At this moment, his two handsome faces were filled with determination and madness. This time they were going all out. Time passed by minute. As the time approached, the crowd still had not seen Lan Yunxiao's figure, and a commotion arose near the stage. It's almost time. Lan Yunxiao and the others couldn't have run away, right? Chapter 55:43. Instructor Yin, look, they're here. Yin Haowang's gaze shifted when he heard his disciples' words. Sure enough, two figures slowly appeared outside. A trace of malice and jealousy flashed through Yin Haowang's eyes when he noticed Lan Yunxiao's appearance. Oomph! Yin Haowang snorted with disdain. At least you didn't miss the appointment. Many of the cultivators present didn't recognize Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao, but when they noticed the gazes on them, they understood what was going on. I was curious why that woman chose Yu Linfeng and offended Yin Haowang, but now I understand. They're really handsome men. Perhaps they really are Bailey Hongzhuang's relatives. You should know how devastatingly beautiful Bailey Hongzhuang is, right? Everyone's hearts skipped a beat when they heard the man's words. Previously, they had indeed determined that all of this was a lie, but it was this seemingly ridiculous reason that made them somewhat believe it. If it was true, they would be interesting. Linfeng, can you still hold on? Lan Yunxiao asked with concern as he looked at Yu Linfeng, who was struggling to breathe. Yu Linfeng nodded. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'll think of a way to get the antidote. Lan Yunxiao's eyes were resolute. Even if the chances were slim, he would do his best. Yu Linfeng looked deeply at Lan Yunxiao. His eyes, which were originally filled with resentment, suddenly calmed down and were filled with relief. They all knew in their hearts that after today, they might disappear from this world. But at the last moment, at least they were united. Compared to many people, this was a pretty good ending. Lan Yunxiao, you're finally here. I thought a coward like you wouldn't dare to come. When Yin Haowang saw that everyone's attention was on Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao, he immediately gained the upper hand by a show of strength and mocked them. Lan Yunxiao's expression darkened, and he coldly looked at the self-satisfied Yin Haowang. You bully others like this, yet you still have the nerve to put on such an attitude. How laughable. His deep voice was filled with magnetism. Even if it was filled with resentment, it was still pleasing to the ears. Everyone's gaze landed on Lan Yunxiao. Even though he was isolated and helpless at this moment and was at an absolute disadvantage, his lofty posture still carried a majesty and sharp edge that couldn't be ignored. He stood there gracefully like an unsheathed sword, exuding an endless amount of sharpness. His intimidating aura made it impossible for others to joke and speak contemptuously. In an instant, many cultivators changed their thoughts. At the very least, they understood that this was a true man and not someone as despicable and shameless as Yin Haowang could compare to him. Yin Haowang's expression darkened when he sensed the change in the crowd's attitude. He didn't like the way they looked at him. He was obviously stronger, but just because this guy had a face that was prettier than a woman's, everyone treated them differently. It was really abominable. This day, next year, will be the day you die. Chapter 55-44. As long as I defeat you, you let us go and give us the antidote, right? Lan Yunxiao looked at Yin Haowang with a burning gaze. Even if the hope was slim, he still wanted to give it a try. Even if they were going to die, they would do their best. Following Lan Yunxiao's words, the cultivators around Yin Haowang couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha, did I hear wrong? He actually wants to defeat Instructor Yin? This guy is probably stupid. With his strength, it's impossible for him to win, okay? Yin Haowang's eyes were filled with disdain, but a playful smile suddenly appeared on his lips. That's right, I did say that before, but I've changed my mind now. Hearing this, Lan Yunxiao's expression darkened and a trace of gloom appeared on his handsome face. Yin Xiao, I told you not to believe this guy. He's a despicable person who goes back on his words. Yu Linfeng couldn't help but be angry. Yin Haowang was simply shameless to the extreme. From his playful appearance, he could guess that he wanted to trick them today. Yin Haowang coldly glanced at Yu Linfeng before turning his gaze back. He originally intended to directly get rid of these two eyesores to establish his prestige and let everyone know that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. However, after seeing the change in everyone's attitude towards Lan Yunxiao, he changed his mind. The more Lan Yunxiao appeared to be unyielding, the more he wanted to humiliate him in front of everyone. So what if Lan Yunxiao and Yu Linfeng were elegant gentlemen? He wanted to let everyone know that without strength, no matter how handsome a man was, he was nothing more than trash. A character that he could casually crush to death. As long as you make me happy, I'll hand over the antidote. How about it? Yin Haowang teased. Lan Yunxiao stared fixedly at Yin Haowang. From the latter's expression, he could guess that this wasn't something good. However, other than agreeing, he had no other way out. What do you want to do? Lan Yunxiao asked with narrowed eyes. My disciples are not in a good mood these days. Just stand there like a punching bag and don't move. As long as they vent their anger, I promise to let you go. How about it? Everyone sighed at his words. He wanted Lan Yunxiao to stand there obediently and take a beating. Sweeping his gaze around, he saw the cultivators surrounding Yin Haowang. Just by looking at them, he could tell that they were not good people. Yin Haowang's suggestion at this moment left him with no room for resistance. If he fought with Yin Haowang, he would at least have a chance to fight back. Yin Haowang's suggestion at this moment left him no room for resistance. Yin Haowang is really too much. I really pity Lan Yunxiao and the others now. On this Scarlet Moon Island, don't you know what kind of character Yin Haowang is? He's never been a straightforward person. Do you think Lan Yunxiao will agree? If you agree, you'll be courting death. Everyone furrowed their brows. They all understood the brotherly affection between Lan Yunxiao and Yu Linfeng. If Yu Linfeng wasn't poisoned, Lan Yunxiao would definitely fight with his life on the line. But now that Yu Linfeng's life was in Yin Haowang's hands, it was really difficult to decide what to do. As long as I don't fight back, you'll hand over the antidote? Lan Yunxiao asked again. Chapter 55-45. Yunxiao, you mustn't believe him. Yu Linfeng couldn't help feeling anxious. This Yin Haowang was so shameless, so his words were probably just casual. They simply couldn't be trusted. Lan Yunxiao gazed deeply at Yin Haowang. How can I believe you? It's up to you whether you believe me or not. Yin Haowang spread out his hands with an indifferent expression. Yu Linfeng's life is in my hands. If you want to save him, then agree. If you want to watch him die, then it's up to you. Hearing this, Lan Yunxiao's heart sank. Indeed, all the chips were in Yin Haowang's hands. He simply didn't have the qualifications to negotiate. All right, I agree, Lan Yunxiao said in a low voice. Yunxiao, you can't agree. Seeing that Lan Yunxiao actually agreed, Yu Linfeng used all his strength to shout. His eyes were bloodshot and the veins on his temples were bulging. However, he was already extremely weak. Even if he used all his strength, his voice was still pitifully small in this noisy environment. He couldn't let Lan Yunxiao suffer such humiliation in order to save him. In any case, I'm already a dying man. Even if they beat you to death, they won't keep their promise. Lan Yunxiao clearly heard Yu Linfeng's words, but he didn't turn around or change his mind. How could he not know that Yin Haowang wasn't a trustworthy person? However, other than believing, he had no other choice. Even if there was only a glimmer of hope, he still had to try. I won't retaliate, but I hope you can promise me one thing. His deep eyes were filled with seriousness and gravity, as if he had made a huge decision. Speak. If I die, you must hand over the antidote and let Linfeng leave. His low and hoarse voice was unprecedentedly heavy. Lan Yunxiao's expression was complicated. If he was going to die today, then at least he had to use all his means to fight for Linfeng's life. As a mentor of the Crimson Moon sect, Yin Haowang must have some face. If he promised him in front of everyone, then there was a possibility that he would abide by it. After hearing Lan Yunxiao's request, Yin Haowang's gaze changed. He then nodded. All right, I'll consider it. If you don't retaliate, I can guarantee that I'll give him the antidote. After receiving an affirmative answer, Lan Yunxiao said, all right. His black, jade-like eyes were filled with determination and determination. He had already lost his life a long time ago. To be able to live until now, it was already a blessing. If it wasn't for Linfeng, Hongzhuang wouldn't have been able to come back so smoothly. He would always remember this kindness. He didn't have a chance to return it in the past, but now was a chance. Seeing Lan Yunxiao agree, Yu Linfeng felt like he was about to go crazy. Lan Yunxiao actually made such a decision for someone like him, who was destined to die. Rather than that, he might as well just die. However, Lan Yunxiao didn't care. Seeing this, Yin Haowang signaled with his eyes. The 4 disciples beside him immediately walked forward with cruel smiles on their faces. Since they were helping their master vent his anger, they naturally had to perform well. Chapter 55-46. As they watched Lan Yunxiao calmly meet his death, the spectators felt a sense of desolation and tragedy. They had only come here to watch a battle with a great disparity in strength. Even though they already knew the outcome, they still wanted to see a good show. However, when they realized that this was no longer a competition, but a show of contempt and devastation, their thoughts changed. The 4 disciples swarmed forward and unhesitatingly beat and kicked him. They were clear that Instructor Yin was unhappy with Lan Yunxiao, but he couldn't make a move in front of so many people, so he had them do it. If they wanted to win the instructor's favor, this was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity to perform. Bang, bang, bang. One attack after another landed mercilessly on Lan Yunxiao's body. Just hearing the dull thuds made the spectators' scalps tingle from the pain. However, Lan Yunxiao, who was being beaten up by the 4, calmly stood in place. He didn't retaliate, nor did he make a sound. He remained silent just like that. He was like an eternal rock that stood towering on the spot from the beginning until the end, and he revealed an indescribable firmness. Yu Linfeng watched as one attack after another landed on Lan Yunxiao's body. He only felt that all the punches and kicks were hitting his heart. This feeling was even more unbearable than being beaten to death. "You idiot!" Yu Linfeng cursed loudly. His bloodshot eyes turned moist and translucent. A man didn't cry easily. No matter how painful it was, he could endure it. Even if he had to die, he could face it calmly. However, he could not stand by and watch his brother die to save him. To him, this feeling was no different from being executed by 1,000 cuts. He would rather be the one to die. In the next instant, Yu Linfeng used all his strength to walk onto the stage and stand in front of Lan Yunxiao. The four people who were wildly beating Lan Yunxiao were startled when they saw Yu Linfeng appear. In the next instant, they glanced at Yin Haowang, only to see him calmly standing in place with a trace of disgust on his face. Seeing this, the four immediately understood, and their attacks became even more ruthless. They didn't attack the duo's vitals as soon as they arrived because they wanted to torture them. Who told them to make instructor Yin lose face in front of so many people? Now, they had to pay back everything. Lan Yunxiao's expression finally changed when he saw Yu Linfeng appear. "What are you doing here? Get down quickly." Seeing the anxiety on Lan Yunxiao's face, Yu Linfeng chuckled. "Brother, I'm afraid I can't avenge you, but I believe that Hong Zhuang will avenge us." Under such circumstances, smiles shouldn't appear on Yu Linfeng and Lan Yunxiao. However, Yu Linfeng's smile was from the bottom. Although this way of dying wasn't cool or wise enough, it was worth it to have a good brother to die with him. Lan Yunxiao, Lan of Lan Yunxiao, Lan Yunxiao of Lan's face, of course. I didn't expect to have to rely on Hong Zhuang in the end, but I believe she will. That's right. You have a good daughter, and I have a good disciple. Fresh blood flowed from Lan Yunxiao and Yu Linfeng's lips. At this moment, the two of them no longer had the ability to fight. Chapter 55-47. Lan Yunxiao originally had the strength to fight, but after being beaten up like this, it was difficult for him to even stand up. Blood had already dyed their clothes red, but the two of them gritted their teeth and didn't make a sound. Even if they were to die here today, they had to at least maintain their last shred of dignity. Yin Haowang's actions today are too much. Even if Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao aren't his match, he shouldn't use such a method. He's a mentor of the Crimson Moon sect, after all. Bullying two newcomers to Penglai Island is too much of a bully. I usually don't think so, but now I feel that the Crimson Moon sect can't compare to Penglai Palace. At least, the mentors of Penglai Palace wouldn't do such a thing. Even though Yin Haowang was the one with the absolute advantage, no one present thought that he was amazing. On the contrary, Lan Yunxiao was a true hero in everyone's hearts. There were things a man should do and things he shouldn't do. For his brother, he was willing to give up his life. This was a true man. Yin Haowang was originally looking at Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao with ridicule. He wanted to use this opportunity to teach them a lesson and let everyone know the price of offending him. However, he didn't expect the crowd to be so one-sided. Penglai Island was never a place that sympathized with the weak. Yet now, all these people were supporting Lan Yunxiao. Yin Haowang's expression changed. This wasn't the result he wanted. "Stop!" Seeing that Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao were on the verge of death, Yin Haowang shouted for them to stop. Following Yin Haowang's words, the four disciples of the Crimson Moon sect immediately stopped and turned to look at him. Yin Haowang raised his hand, and the four of them quickly returned to their positions behind him. They secretly sighed in relief. In reality, they were extremely embarrassed when they were faced with the crowd's disdainful and mocking gazes. Using the strong to bully the weak, using numbers to bully the few, and being despicable and shameless. It didn't matter which one of these titles was hung on their heads, they wouldn't be happy, let alone when so many titles were hung on their heads. The faint smell of blood permeated the air and dyed Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao's clothes red. Flowers of blood blossomed on the ground, and a tragic and desolate aura spread out. Compared to their miserable and sorry state, Their eyes were still as sharp as an eagle's, and they revealed stubbornness and persistence. His sharp gaze seemed to be able to pierce through people's hearts. Facing those two eyes that were filled with blood chi, Yin Haowang did not know why, but his heart actually trembled, and a trace of fear unconsciously flashed through his heart. However, when he thought about how the two people in front of him were about to die, he dispelled the thought in annoyance. Damn it! He was actually intimidated by the gazes of two ants. It was simply laughable. In the next moment, Yin Haowang squatted down and looked at the two miserable faces in front of him. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a trace of playfulness. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I will give you a chance to live now. As soon as these words came out, all eyes turned to Yin Haowang. They didn't expect this guy to have a bit of conscience and change his mind at the last moment. However, Lan Yunxiao and the other man only looked at him coldly without saying a word. It was impossible for such a despicable and shameless person to be so kind as to let them go. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many things happening now. Chapter 55-48. Yin Haowang originally thought that after he said those words, he would definitely see Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunfeng's hopeful gazes. However, he didn't expect that the two of them didn't take his words to heart at all. Instead, it was as if they had seen through him. This feeling made him extremely unhappy. I'm speaking the truth, Yin Haowang spoke again. Everyone here can bear witness. As long as you do it, I'll give you the antidote and let you leave Scarlet Moon Island. Lan Yunxiao's eyes turned gloomy and complicated. His voice was hoarse and suppressed. What is it? Yin Haowang stood up abruptly, his fat face filled with pride. Here, my shoes are dirty. Yin Haowang pointed at his shoes, and his smile became increasingly arrogant. As long as you lick my shoes clean, I'll let you live. Isn't this simple? The conspiracy in Lan Yunxiao's eyes deepened. Even though he had already guessed that Yin Haowang wouldn't say anything good, he still underestimated Yin Haowang's shamelessness after hearing the contents of the conversation. In your dreams, Lan Yunxiao coldly said. Oomph. Yin Haowang's expression turned sinister. If you don't do as I say, you two can only die here today. Lan Yunxiao and Yu Linfeng ignored him. They'd rather die than do such a thing. Di Beichun controlled the flying artifact and rushed at his fastest speed. Finally, he successfully arrived at Scarlet Moon Island. This is Scarlet Moon Island. Izihua guided them along the way. Although Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang knew about Scarlet Moon Island, they'd never come here before. Scarlet Moon Island was one of the three most famous islands in Penglai Island. It was extremely vast. Buildings stood in great numbers, and the streets were filled with people. The liveliness here wasn't inferior to Penglai Island. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest weren't in the mood to pay attention to all this. They only wanted to reach the stage as soon as possible. It was already noon, so the battle should have already begun. With Yin Haowang's strength, it would only take him a short amount of time to kill the two of them. It was precisely because everyone knew of this situation that they remained silent. No one said anything. If they said something bad and made Bailey Hongzhuang's mood even worse, they didn't want to see that happen. Bai Cangming and the other two walked at the front, leading the way. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest clearly did not know where the arena was. The group of people flew away as fast as they could. Even though they were extremely fast, many people still managed to see their faces clearly. Am I seeing things? I think I saw the Penglai Palace Master just now. I also think I'm mistaken, because I actually saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun. Everyone looked at each other as thoughts flashed through their minds. If it wasn't for the fact that there were other cultivators around, they would have thought that they were seeing things. I heard that today is the day Yin Haowang will deal with Lan Yunxiao's group. Now that the Penglai Palace's people are here, could it be that Lan Yunxiao's group's identity is real? Chapter 55-49. There were already many people who had gone to the arena to watch the show. When the remaining cultivators found out that people from Penglai Palace had come, they all rushed over to watch the show. If this matter wasn't attractive to them before, it was now very attractive. Along the way, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was expressionless, but the sweat on her palms revealed her inner nervousness. If something happened to her father and master, she wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Yin Haowang's expression darkened when he heard Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunfeng's rejection. He coldly looked at the two of them, his eyes filled with malice. "Are you sure you want to refuse?" Yin Haowang coldly asked. Lan Yunxiao looked at Yin Haowang with disgust. "As a mentor of the Crimson Moon sect, you actually don't have any sense of existence. Can you only use this method to pretend to be an expert?" His mocking words pierced Yin Haowang's heart. In his fury, he directly slapped him. "Go to hell." Lan Yunxiao subconsciously closed his eyes. Rather than being humiliated here, he'd rather die a quick death. That would be more straightforward. However, the expected pain didn't come. Lan Yunxiao couldn't help but frown. Suddenly, he heard Yu Linfeng's astonished voice. "Hong Zhuang." Yu Linfeng stared blankly at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him. For a moment, he only felt that he was too weak and had become delirious. Lan Yunxiao hastily raised his head. When he saw the familiar figure in front of him, his deep eyes filled with joy. That's right, this was Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang tightly grasped Yin Haowang's hand. Her dark eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty glint as dense killing intent exploded from her body. The bloodstains on Lan Yunxiao and Yu Linfeng's bodies were a ghastly sight, even though she had already guessed that she would encounter such a situation before coming. When this bloody scene truly appeared, her heart was deeply shaken and pierced. Her father and master, the two people she had carefully protected, were actually beaten black and blue by this bastard from the Crimson Moon sect. Damn it! Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was burning with killing intent. When Yin Haowang saw a stunning woman suddenly appear in front of him, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to get angry, he found that this woman's strength was so terrifying that he couldn't break free. Not only that, the cold, killing intent emitted from the woman's body seeped into his body, causing his heart to tremble uncontrollably in fear. Just as he was about to ask who this woman was, he suddenly heard a terrifying name, Bailey Hongzhuang. Now in the entire Penglai Island, who hasn't heard of Bailey Hongzhuang's name? Previously, he already knew that Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxi claimed to be Bailey Hongzhuang's relatives, but he didn't take it seriously and even treated it as a joke. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had actually appeared. He took a closer look. Wasn't this woman's stunning appearance exactly in line with everyone's description of Bailey Hongzhuang? "You dare to hit my father?" The cold voice didn't have the slightest bit of warmth. The bloodthirsty killing intent was almost tangible. Bailey Hongzhuang expressionlessly looked at Yin Haowang.